3 degrees right now as you get up. Let's talk with meteorologist Patrick Ellis with a look at our forecast. And Patrick, we essentially are dealing with what we left off with last week, warmer temperatures and a warmer day ahead, right?
Yeah, most definitely. We're talking about near record warmth again across the Mid-South. As we roll through the course of the day, of course, the weekend, we had a couple of opportunities for rain. Some of you catching some of that, others staying completely dry still across the area. We officially ended the dry streak at Memphis International Airport. But again, Memphis International Airport is just a small dot in all of Shelby County. Some parts of the county not even seeing a drop of rain, while others seeing a nice little bit over the course of the weekend, especially on Saturday. And of course, Sunday morning, we had some thunderstorms moving across portions of Helena, West Helena, over to Clarksdale. Marks catching some rain as well. We are dry, though, this morning as you're stepping out the door. Here's a live look in Oxford, Mississippi. Beautiful shot there as you're taking a look on the square this morning. Temperatures are starting off in the 50s and 60s. 7:16 on that sunrise here this morning. Just a reminder, my friends, we are coming up on the time change weekend. So our sunsets and sunrises are going to shift an hour back. That means that we will have sunrises at about 6:20 in the morning as we get into the weekend. But that will be on Sunday. But by the time we head towards Sunday night, that 5:07, 5:08 sunset, it'll catch your attention. 50s as you're starting off the day, though, as you're heading out the door this morning in most locations outside the city. 62, the current number there in the city of Memphis. 61 Oxford, 57 West Memphis. Blytheville's checking it at 56 degrees. For today, on our way up to 85 degrees, sun passing clouds, near record warmth once again, a south breeze coming in around 10 to 15 miles per hour. And as Andrew mentioned, again, we're kind of starting the week off where we ended it, near record warmth across the area. Record high today, 85. We may match that here today. That goes back to 2004. 2016's 85 may be challenged for tomorrow. And then 83 on Wednesday may fall short of a record, but still well above average for this time of the year. Obviously, the average by Wednesday, 69 degrees. A mixture of clouds and sunshine to call here as we go through the course of the day. Temperatures topping out in the mid-80s. Again, occasionally it might be more clouds than sunshine. Other times will be more sunshine across the Mid-South. 60s, some sprinkled in 50s to start off early Tuesday morning. We'll work our way back through the middle 80s for the afternoon hours of Tuesday. The farther east that you are, a little cooler, low 80s in places like Selmer, Bolivar, Ripley, Mississippi, as well as Ashland. The farther west that you are, to the mid-80s we go through the course of the afternoon hours, and we'll probably do the whole process over again on Wednesday. But on Wednesday, we'll add in a chance for a passing shower or two by the afternoon hours as moisture continues to filter in off the Gulf of Mexico. To the west of us, you'll notice a lot of showers and thunderstorms getting into northwestern Arkansas. Look at the time frame here. That is like 11 o'clock at night. So that is what's going to be rolling through the Mid-South as we go through your Wednesday night into Thursday. And actually, we'll put the rain chance now 60% on Thursday. That is Halloween. And of course, that will have some implications potentially for Halloween festivities, activities, trick-or-treating, trunk-or-treating, whatever you have planned out for Thursday could have rain and storms to contend with. Beyond that, a little less in the way of rain chances, but still a chance for a passing shower or two as we head towards the upcoming weekend. First Alert Futurecast going ahead to show those showers and storms knocking on the back doorstep early on Thursday morning. We might be able to get it out the door Thursday morning without much fanfare, but really and truly the bulk of the rain and storms along the line will push eastward through the course of the late morning into the early afternoon hours. Timing of this is going to be critical because that could also lead up to the potential for a few isolated gustier storms that could also roll through here. If this is to be believed, we will likely still have at least some opportunities for rain pushing across the area through Thursday evening, so that could have implications for those festivities and activities. I'm not to say that it's going to be completely dry or wet, but I think that there's at least a chance still in play here as we head towards Thursday. Now, as we get closer to time tomorrow, we'll actually see that finer resolution, the higher resolution modeling that would, maybe hone in a little bit closer to what to expect. But at least this gives you an inkling of what to expect for Thursday. This would be the first appreciable widespread rainfall that we've seen in over a month. Of course, we did see a little bit of rain during the course of the weekend, but again, some folks, even within Shelby County, saw absolutely nothing, while others seeing little bit of rainfall here and there. So as we go through the next couple days, 85 the forecast high, the record high in 2004 also 85. So we could tag that record here today. Wouldn't be surprised if we tag it again tomorrow. Winds are going to get a little breezier for Tuesday and Wednesday. Gusts out of the south around 30 miles per hour. Heading into Halloween, again, there is that potential for some rain and storms to contend with that will linger into Thursday evening. But notice we go from a 60% rain chance during the day to a 40% rain chance as that front works its way farther to the east. But at least, again, the higher potential for rain and storms on Thursday evening will be early in the evening. Trying to dry out, turning cooler on Friday. Temperatures in the upper 60s, low 70s, and a quick turnaround once again to the upper 70s and low 80s through the weekend with a mixture of clouds and sunshine. For now, we're going to keep a mention of a few passing showers, possible bubbling up with the daytime heating for Saturday and Sunday. And yes, this is the time change weekend, so we will fall back 1 hour. So that 5:06 sunset on Sunday, you're going to be like, okay, why does it feel like midnight outside and we haven't even had dinner just yet? Monday will be a variably cloudy sky with temperatures in the upper 70s. We'll add in a chance for a few more showers and storms. Again, next Tuesday, not this Tuesday, next Tuesday is the general election. Temperatures expected to be in the low to mid 70s that day, variably cloudy skies. There is a chance for rain. So if you have the opportunity to early vote, you got today, tomorrow, and for the most part Wednesday as well to be completely dry. For Arkansas, you've got until November 2nd to November 4th actually to get out and vote, early vote. In Tennessee, you got until Thursday. So if you want to early vote in Tennessee, you got until Thursday. You got 3 more days of dry weather to contend with. Thursday, we turn wet once again. For Arkansas, you got a couple more days here. You might be able to, squeeze out a few more days where you don't have to deal with the rainfall, but you at least have a chance to early vote through November 4th. And of course, Mississippi, in-person absentee voting, but you need to have an excuse when you go down to the circuit clerk's office to do that. But at any rate, again, get out and vote. Of course, the main election, the general election next Tuesday. We're hoping for dry weather, but it looks like we do have at least a chance for some rain that day with temperatures in the 70s.
So, Patrick, question for you. You mentioned Halloween and the possibility of rain. Is that the entire Mid-South or just some areas?
Yeah, this is the first widespread appreciable rainfall that we'll see for a month. So, this is going to be everybody catches rain at some point in time during the course of the day. I don't think it's an all-day situation. Let it be known that that front's going to sweep on through here. Now, the determining factor is going to be how deep is that line of showers and thunderstorms. How wide is it going to be? Is it going to be a thin line of showers and storms, or are we talking about one that's going to have some lingering impacts? To be seen at this point. Again, we'll see a little better inkling of that tonight into tomorrow. So check in with Chief Meteorologist Ron Childers tonight. He's going to have the latest high-resolution data to show you leading up into Thursday. Of course, that line of showers and thunderstorms making its way across the area. There is a slight risk for severe weather to the west of us on Wednesday evening into early Thursday. I would not be surprised tomorrow if we get a marginal risk, at least here in parts of the Mid-South, as that front makes its way across our area.
Sounds good. All right, meteorologist Patrick Ellis starting us off on this Monday. Patrick, thank you.
No problem.
All right, let's split the screen here and show you another live look from our High 5 camera, Midtown Memphis. Again, 62 degrees as you get up on this Monday morning. One of the top stories we were following was some breaking news that we had here on Action News 5, a shooting situation at about 3:30 in the morning on Summer near Graham. This was something where roads and streets were blocked off, a huge police presence. We had Action News 5's Tavares Haywood bringing us details of this breaking news.
Portions of Summer Avenue are open again. I'm going to step out of the way. As you can see, MPD had portions of Summer Avenue in between Holmes and Pope Street blocked off for several hours as they investigated a shooting scene. It's unclear right now if anyone was hurt, if anyone was injured in this accident. They just said that they were investigating some sort of shooting. Again, right now, police have not given us any information at this time. This is just down the road from another shooting investigation, just a mile down the road from this shooting investigation here near Holmes and Summer Avenue. Once we find out more information, we'll be sure to update you on air and online. Once again, police have not given us any information as to if someone shot or anything. So once we have that information, we'll be sure to update you. Tavares Haywood, Action News 5.
More Action News 5 digital desk right after. Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. I'm Andrew Douglas. There has been some new research that has recently been documented with the Alzheimer's Association. And this research covers 3 different areas, everything from blood tests to GLP-1, which is Ozempic, those sort of things, and processed red meat. And this research is, as I mentioned, recent, and it is something that really gives us more of an idea of maybe the factors involved with dementia and Alzheimer's. Let's bring in someone with the Alzheimer's Association. Amy French is a research champion and senior program manager with the Alzheimer's Association. She's joining us now on the digital desk. Amy, good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Let's talk a little bit about this recent research and what, from your perspective, you see as the most valuable aspects to it. Good morning.
Good morning. And thank you so much for having us on to talk about these important developments. And my role with the association is to bring this information to the living rooms, to have the honor and the privilege to attend so many of these scientific convenings like the Alzheimer's Association International Conference that I just came from, and learn about what's happening in the field and bringing it to the living rooms of the yous and me's of the world. So the blood test, as we know, the diagnostic process for Alzheimer's disease is very complex right now, and it requires extensive cognitive testing, usually brain imaging, that is expensive and not always paid for by insurance and not accessible to everyone, things like PET scan imaging. So a blood test that is now FDA approved as of this month will bring that capability of the primary care physician to do a preliminary blood test screening that will show at about a 90% accuracy rate the presence in the blood of what's called biomarkers or indicators that the disease process is happening in the brain. And that will, of course, accelerate diagnosis. It will eliminate the burden that is currently on specialists like neurologists and gerontologists who often have to do that preliminary screening. With that screening being done in advance, we know that there's a desert of specialists like neurologists and cardiologists. So it would take the burden off of them and enable primary care physicians to accelerate diagnosis and move forward with that. So that's very exciting and really groundbreaking news in the disease process.
It sounds like it. So, Amy, just so we're clear, I just wanted to ask you, so if someone, for example, we have thousands of people that watch us here on the digital desk, if someone were to go and maybe get a physical, okay, and they draw blood, is this blood test that you mentioned is FDA approved, could they say with that blood test, okay, look, you're only 35 or 45, but you have biomarkers that suggest that you could have dementia or Alzheimer's later in life? Is that how it works?
The long and short of it is yes. That test is not widely used yet. Obviously, it was just approved and made available, so it is not widely used. But that is what we envision for the very near future, for it to be a predictive test. As we know, the disease process for most chronic progressive diseases, be it kidney disease, heart disease, diabetes, and Alzheimer's disease, the disease process begins long before symptoms become obvious. And if you wait until symptoms are obvious, then the ability to manage that disease is greatly reduced. So yes, as a diagnostic tool, not yet widely used, again, just made available, but that is a very realistic and strong expectation.
Yeah, I would think that anyone who has an opportunity to get this kind of test, to get it as soon as possible, because then the earlier you get it and the more that you have biomarkers, and the earlier, that means the earlier you can do things to stave off the dementia and Alzheimer's and do things to really kind of combat against some of the ugliness that we see of that disease. Is that right?
That's true. And to be very clear, we do not have at this point in the research game, we don't have the ability to stop the disease entirely. We don't have the ability to prevent the disease entirely. Again, this is true of many chronic progressive illnesses as well. It doesn't make it acceptable, but it doesn't make Alzheimer's an exception in that regard. So what we really are looking at, as again, I keep saying it with chronic progressive diseases, is lifestyle interventions that really can make a difference in our risk factors for developing things like Alzheimer's and other chronic diseases. And by that, I mean things like one of the studies that I think you wanted to talk about today was a study about processed red meat. And that study backs up 100% the idea through a study that was done for over 130,000 healthcare professionals over the course of 40 years. So this is not just some fly-by-night study that goes, oh yeah, that's probably true. It is evidence-based research that shows that the consumption of 2 to 3 portions of something like bacon, or I hate to hate on bacon because everybody loves bacon, but 2 to 3 portions a week increases your risk of cognitive decline by 14%. That's a pretty significant percentage, and especially in regard to something that we do have control over and we can change. That doesn't mean you have to give up bacon forever. Maybe 2 or 3 times a month, it's fine. It's probably not going to hurt you. And also the good news is that unprocessed red meats, like just your normal healthy meat that you buy that's not full of nitrites and preservatives and sodium, it doesn't seem to have any factor at this point in time on your risk. So we're looking at pretty much excessive use of processed meats that is the culprit here.
Gotcha. So, hot dogs, sausages, bacon, those traditional things, not necessarily, like red meat when you say steak, or a piece of pork or something like that that's unprocessed, right?
And yes, that's correct. And the guidelines that are in place for a healthy diet, like the Mediterranean diet, the DASH diet, all of those guidelines are still very, very much recommended in regard to overall health. We're just showing through this study that it just backs up everything that we already know about a healthy diet and the scientific evidence that's there in regard to what's good for the heart is good for the brain.
Right. And so, Amy, I'm reading from one of the things from the Alzheimer's report, and it says that processed meat, as we've been talking, raises the risk of dementia, but if you swap it for nuts and beans, it will lower the risk. And you mentioned earlier how this was a 4-decade study of more than 130,000 people. So it wasn't a small group and it wasn't a small timeline. We're talking a huge, that's a beautiful study, if you will, because it covers so many different people over such a long period of time.
Yeah, and it really gives us irrefutable evidence that, again, has been backed up time and time again. There are subsequent studies that are being funded by the Alzheimer's Association, even as we speak, to hone it down and get a better understanding of the impact of things like the processed meats and other dietary factors that we know from past evidence are not healthy, understanding better why exactly it is that these particular things like the nitrites, like the high sodium, do increase our risk. Understanding why the risk is increased can help us understand how to better reduce that risk and mitigate that risk, not just through the elimination or the significant reduction of those products, but also in regard to research in general, understanding the disease better.
Okay, and Amy, finally, I want to go to the third aspect, and this was the GLP-1. So this is things like Wegovy, Ozempic, and how it may protect against dementia. Explain the results coming out of this.
Yeah, so those studies indicate that the weight loss drugs may have a protective quality for the brain. We also know that those drugs really haven't been on the market for a long time, so we haven't had the opportunity to do really longitudinal studies. But preliminary indicators indicate that there's a very good possibility that there is some protective quality. Now, that doesn't mean that those medications are going to now be the norm for a person who has Alzheimer's to go on those medications. That's not what the takeaway is. The takeaway is that it's yet another avenue of hope, yet another avenue that is being explored. We know that the relationship between what creates risk factors for diabetes and other metabolic diseases are also risk factors for Alzheimer's disease. So knowing that medications that can help mitigate those metabolic type disorders might be indicated in also mitigating Alzheimer's risk and Alzheimer's progression is very encouraging and very significant. Isn't it wonderful when a medication comes on the market that's just not a one-trick pony, that it has a lot of other benefits as well?
No, I'm very encouraged by these recent breakthroughs. I think I may have mentioned it to you and perhaps some of your colleagues that my dad has Alzheimer's, and so we go through it as a family together. And I do a lot of things with the Alzheimer's Association and I love learning about these breakthroughs because it's so valuable for so many people out there. Where can our audience look at some of these breakthroughs and kind of read for themselves? Is there a place online?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. Of course there is. Our website is your absolute go-to. It's alz.org, alz.org, that simple. We also have a toll-free helpline at 1-800-272-3900, and I hope that you'll flash that on the screen for us. Both are great resources. I encourage people, especially if you're overwhelmed as a caregiver, and as a caregiver yourself, this is the norm to feel overwhelmed as a caregiver. Sometimes going to the Google net, as they say, can be really scary and intimidating and overwhelming. Even our website, which is 100% evidence-based, if you see it on the Alzheimer's Association website, you know that it's true. You know that it's not a fly-by-night study, a scheme to get you to buy a product or whatever. You know it's legit. So our toll-free number is a great resource too that I think is drastically underutilized. You can ask a question about anything. You can ask a question about what we just talked about today, about the blood test, about whether Ozempic is going to help reduce your risk. It doesn't have to be a deep, intense question. It can be anything you need and want to know about Alzheimer's disease. We are in the business of education and support, along with, of course, funding the research and even providing research studies as well. That's our business. It's what we do. We are here to help. We are here to help in whatever way we can. And that means one-on-one. If it's a one-on-one conversation with our helpline, and it helps even one small bit in helping you understand your risk, mitigating your risk, or understand your role as a caregiver and how to best provide care for your loved one. All those things are so important. And that's why we're here. And we want people to help us do our job. We want to have people that we can serve.
Amy French, we really appreciate this conversation. Thank you so much for letting us know about these recent breakthroughs, valuable information that people can check out at alz.org. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. I'm Andrew Douglas, and I'm joined now by Reef Faberman, the Trust for America's Health Director of Strategic Communications and Policy Research. Good morning to you. Let's talk a little bit about this new report that I'm hearing about epidemics of alcohol, drug, and suicide deaths. And give me the facts and the findings that surround this report. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. This is an annual report that Trust for America Health does, and we track the number of deaths due to alcohol, drugs, and suicide, both at the national level and at the state level. And there's some good news at both of those levels, although the number of deaths over the last 2 decades has really increased at very alarming rates. We're up 142% in these deaths, alcohol, drug, and suicide deaths over the last 2 decades. So we have a lot of work to do. But for the very latest data, which is for 2022, there is a glimmer of some good news. Nationally, alcohol drugs are down 6%. And in Tennessee, these deaths due to alcohol, drugs, and suicide are down across the board. Your alcohol deaths are down 2%, your drug overdose deaths are down 1%, and your suicide deaths are down 2%. So that's good news. However, we also need to remember that even with these reductions, over 6,400 people have died in Tennessee in 2022 from substance abuse or suicide.
How much is this related to the pandemic? I mean, I know we've been out of the pandemic now, but how much is it related to that?
Yeah, it's a good question because there is data that suggests that when we were able to come out of the pandemic, the public health emergency ended, people were able to get back to a more normal routine, going to an office, going to work, being able to socialize, going out to restaurants, etc. That helped people's sense of social isolation, any loneliness, because we did see very high increases, double-digit increases in alcohol and suicide deaths in 2020 and 2021. Now we see kind of a leveling off in 2022. So the end of the pandemic probably did impact these numbers.
So we have these numbers. They're extremely high, even though they aren't as high as they have been in the past. They are still extremely high. How do we bring it down?
Yeah, it's important to remember that even though we have seen a leveling off, the numbers across the last 2 decades are just astronomically high. So we need to do a couple of things. We need to invest in prevention programs and in the community conditions that allow people to thrive. We need to invest in harm reduction programs, things like readily available naloxone. Naloxone is a overdose reversal drug medication. And that needs to be readily available in communities. Fentanyl test strips need to be readily available in communities. Fentanyl is the largest driver of drug overdose. We also need to ensure that we have a mental health system in this country and a substance abuse prevention system that is large enough to meet all the need and that has the diversity and the language skills and the understanding of individual community culture to allow it to be really welcoming to anyone who needs help and effective for anyone who needs help.
What else can we talk about with regards to this study? And, you know, we've addressed this problem, this issue. It's still a mess when it comes to our area of West Tennessee and North Mississippi, Eastern Arkansas. What else can we talk about with solutions here?
Yeah, I would again point to the importance of a mental health services system that is as large as the scope of the problem. Many Americans, 53% of Americans, live in mental health workforce shortage areas, which means that if a person needs some kind of mental health services or substance abuse prevention services, they're likely put on a waiting list and they have to wait until they can get the services they need. That's something that really needs to be addressed. We also need to invest in prevention programs in schools. Schools are such a natural place to be able to help kids, to understand who needs help and the kind of help they need. So prevention programs in school, programs that teach coping skills and teach resilience, also very important.
Okay, Ms. Farberman, thank you so much for joining us on the Digital Desk. We appreciate your time and really just kind of analyzing this latest study that shows some progression, but still we got a long, long way to go. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. I'm Andrew Douglas, and at some point in our lives, you're going to have to deal with getting a new car, or at least a new car for you. At some point, you're going to have to say, it's time to trade in the old one, or it's time to sell the new one, and now I got to figure out what I should get for my next ride. What should you get? There are so many options out there, and sometimes that whole process can be very intimidating. And we're not just talking about something that's intimidating for a 20-year-old, a 30-year-old. This is for every age group. It's daunting when you think about what car you should get, how many miles should it have, should you get a used car, should you get a new car, what should you do with your trade-in, what should you do if you want to sell your car? Well, I have the perfect interview for you to really just kind of bring it down to layman's terms of what we can do and better, find a way to empower all those consumers out there that are in the market for a car. Let's bring in Stan Norton. He is the CEO of City Auto. He is also someone who sits on the board of the Tennessee Motor Vehicle Commission. Stan, I appreciate you joining us on the Action News 5 Digital Desk. How are you this morning?
Hey, good morning, Andrew. I'm doing very well, thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So where do we begin on this? At what point does a person say, okay, I think I might need a new car, and where should we start with that process? Because it is very daunting.
It is daunting. First, Andrew, let me just offer a disclaimer here. Even though I sit on the Tennessee Motor Vehicle Commission today, the information offered today is my opinion. It's not an official statement from the state of Tennessee, so I have to offer that. But yeah, it is a daunting task to purchase a vehicle. It's the second largest asset an individual will buy. So you just start from the beginning. What is your need? What do you want? And then, of course, the internet has made that very opportunistic to search for that. So I think the average consumer spends like something like 100 hours online just to make a purchase, only to go to less than 2 dealerships to find what they want. So it's just something that it comes down to needs and wants. But the internet's a good place to start. So do all your research. So in new cars, I mean, the average cost of a new car is $47,000. A used car is $26,000. So you start there, and that equates to a payment. So everybody's got a different need or a want. So there's a lot of things to determine when you're going to search for a car. And there's the obvious tips when you start to look for. Once you decide what you want, you got to find a dealer. And I would recommend finding a licensed dealer, someone who's reputable, and you can find that by searching online. There's all kinds of reputation tools online, like the Better Business Bureau. There's Google reviews. There's all kinds of things you can look to start finding a dealer. And once you find that dealer, you gotta do a lot of research, right? There's a lot of research to be done.
Yeah, let me ask you something, Stan. Let me just jump in real quick. I know that there are some times, and this is just a question, some times of the year are better than others to be in the market for a new car or a used car. Can you talk a little bit about that, maybe when the best times are during the year?
I get that question asked a lot. There's really not a better time. I mean, I've been doing this 38 years. The model changes can be an opportunity to find a better deal if there's a transition in the body style. But I mean, that's a tough one. Really, there's no really good time. I mean, I hear the end of the year closeouts. I guess I can't say there's really a better time to buy a car. Now, we just went through the pandemic, and that created some challenges from supply and demand. But, the supply and demand is pretty consistent now and it normalized. But I mean, really not a good time. The time is just, when is the best time for you? There's not really a peak or a valley for the supply and demand of that. So I guess I say there's not a better time than today. Today's a good day to buy a car.
What about being in the car market? At what point do you, the consumer, the driver, say, I think I may need a new car? Are there some factors involved that that the consumer needs to ask themselves and then answer themselves and say, okay, yeah, I might be in the I might need a new ride?
Well, I think everybody's always looking for a car. It's like shopping for clothes. People drive down the street and they see something they like. So subconsciously, people always aspire to buy something new, but it comes down to wants and needs. And one of the things we see quite often is a person that they pay their car off and they don't have a car payment, but they start occurring deferred maintenance issues. Things start to break because typically when they pay their car off, it's got higher miles. So it's a variation of things. It's wants and needs, but I mean we see it all. But more importantly, when they start breaking, people want to get rid of them. We have City Auto. We have 2 service departments, and we find people when they get a very high repair bill for something, the first thing they say, I think I'd be better off just going ahead and trading it. So, but and then you got some people who like to trade every year to get a new car. So it's just a wide variety of why anybody want to shop, but thankfully they like to shop every day. It keeps us in business.
So that brings me to my next question. What is the difference? Like when do we decide, okay, we should sell our car out there on the market, maybe an online platform, or trade it in for that new ride that we want?
Well, the internet has given us a lot of options over the past years, because it used to be you'd have to call your banker, they'd give you a book value, excuse me, and you go to the dealership and you'd explain, hey, I've got a book value. Well, they wouldn't tell you where to go get that book value, but now you have that opportunity. You can go do an online search, and there's a multitude of platforms that can give you an offer online, and they'll bring you a check and pick up the car. So but I would recommend as a consumer, that's the first thing you do is if you've got to trade in, is try to find out what it's worth. So when you show up to a dealership to trade it, you have a pretty good idea of what they're supposed to give you, because you have gone online and gotten bids. And so it makes it a lot easier for the consumer. It takes a lot of the pressure off the car buying experience, because that's part of the negotiation. What are you going to sell me your car for? And what are you going to give me for mine? And so this opportunity to go online takes care of that. So it's made our jobs easier, as well as just the overall, shopping online. When I said the average consumer goes to less than 2 dealerships to buy a car, that's because they've already gone online and they've compared prices and all the options they're looking for online. So a consumer has every tool at their fingertips to go to shop for a car. You just spend all that time doing research online, finding out what it is you want, the color, the miles, the equipment, the price, because it's all right there at your fingertips. And then you can shop for price as well. And then you get your valuation tools done online. So, I mean, it's pretty easy. It's made the car buying experience a lot simpler for the consumer, because they come to the dealership prepared to buy a vehicle.
Right, exactly. We have thousands of people that watch us each and every morning here on the Action News 5 digital desk stand. And, you have said it several times that people need to do their research, their homework online first. That's best practices for someone that's in the car market. If you had maybe 2 or 3 other bullet points to give to consumers out there who are in the car market after, doing your research online, what else would you tell them?
Well, if you're going to buy a used car, and I find this all too often in my sector, in my business, and also we see it from the commission's perspective as well, is dealers. I would never buy a car from a dealer that sold a used car that sold it as is. That's disclosed. It's it's a buyer's guide. Law requires to be displayed in the window. If you see that and the dealer wants to sell you that as is, I wouldn't buy the car. I mean, you enter in an area where the dealer can hide behind the fact that he's selling it as is, and he's not responsible for anything that happens to that car after he takes it off the lot. So you know, most reputable dealers offer some sort of coverage that, you know, it's a small coverage generally, anywhere from 1,000 miles to 6,000 miles, that it offers a stated coverage that protects the consumer if something is actually wrong with the vehicle. Now, there is all the other opportunities to extend that coverage further, but I mean, just beware. Don't, you know, if you do buy a car as is, absolutely take it and let a mechanic check it out. Don't just take the dealer's word for it. I mean, there's a lot of good dealers out there. You know, at City Auto, we work hard in our reputation. We've been in business 38 years to try to take care of our customers, and there's mostly dealers do that, but there are some characters out there that don't follow the rules, and they hurt the consumers. So that would be a tip for sure, is make sure you don't buy a vehicle as is. But also, when you're shopping online, look for the dealer. There's a lot of information. Dealers all have online reputations, and it's easy to find it through, you know, the different platforms like Google or the Better Business Bureau. So if you'll look at those things, you know, nobody's perfect. You know, you're going to have issues because they're vehicles and they're man-made and they do break. But what makes a dealer different is how they handle that after the fact. You know, do you care about your customer? Are the customer going to be taken care of? So there's a lot to be considered in that. But to me, that would be the biggest thing, is make sure you find a good dealer. Do your research on the dealer itself as well as the car to make sure you get the best outcome.
Okay, he is Stan Norton, Tennessee Motor Vehicle Commission and the COO of City Auto. Stan, we really appreciate the tips and advice you gave this morning here on the Action News 5 Digital Desk. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Andrew.
Hey, good morning. Thank you so much for having me. Yes, let's talk about smoke detectors. So some of the new smoke detectors that are out on the market, you want to ensure that there are photoelectric and they're electrochemical. What I'm talking about are the smoke detectors that are able to detect smoke, and they're also able to detect carbon monoxide. Those are the two dangerous items that come from any type of fire as well. The other big takeaways that you want for smoke detectors in your homes is, one, you want them battery operated. The reason why is some of them can be hardwired in, but when the electricity goes off, you still want your smoke detectors able to keep detecting. There's also the ability for these new smoke detectors to be hardwired into your system as well. What they do, what I mean by that is, when one smoke detector goes off, the other smoke detectors that are around will alarm as well. And then probably the third biggest takeaway you want from a smoke detector when you purchased one from any retail outlet is you want to ensure that they are UL certified. That is the Underwriters Laboratories. It's just the nationwide standardization and testing that all the smoke detectors and CO2 or CO1 detectors go through. That's a great question. Most smoke detectors are commonly available just about anywhere you can imagine. You can get them at Walmart's, Walgreens, Lowe's, Home Depot, etc. The big takeaway you want to look at is make sure that they have the UL certification on them. That basically means that the smoke detector has gone through the national standards and has been tested and is a good product to use. Additionally, too, when you go to purchase a smoke detector, you want to make sure that it also has that carbon monoxide detector as well, because both of those pieces together will give you the full protection that you need for your home.
Good morning. Thank you. I'm glad we got the audio working better now. This is a little funky setup, but what we're going to be doing, negotiation is one of those areas that so many people can always be better at. It was the very first course I took when I was in grad school 20 years ago. I fell in love with it, and I think it's something that we can help everybody do a better job with when they're collaborating, working with others, whether it's negotiating for business, which is the main angle for our workshop on November 21st, or whether they're just
Okay, so back here in the Action News 5 digital desk, we have some technical errors, some audio issues. We're going to restart the digital desk and come back to you in just a few short minutes. So hang with us here on the Action News 5 digital desk. We'll be back in just a few minutes. All right, back here in the Action News 5 digital desk, we're going to see if we can get some things going just to be on the safe side, because I want to make sure that we are running properly here at Action News 5 and making sure that you can hear every bit of our interviews here. So let me check with this one. This one is about fire prevention, and in particular, specifically, smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors. Back to the Action News 5 digital desk. You know, October is when it starts to get colder outside, when we start to turn on the heat, and sometimes people will use space heaters, and sometimes, you know, things can get kind of dangerous with all that stuff. So we got to make sure that we prevent fires, and if we do have something that, God forbid, happens in our house, do we have the right detectors to let us know that there is something wrong and it needs attention right away? Let's bring in someone to help us through all this. Patrick Brockway works at Regional One Health. He's going to go over some of these things that we can do just to protect our home, our property, our family members here on the digital desk. Patrick, so let's talk first off smoke detectors and the kind of smoke detectors and where they should be in our home. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. Thank you so much for having me. Yes, let's talk about smoke detectors. So some of the new smoke detectors that are out on the market, you want to ensure that there are photoelectric and they're electrochemical. What I'm talking about are the smoke detectors that are able to detect smoke, and they're also able to detect carbon monoxide. Those are the two dangerous items that come from any type of fire as well. The other big takeaways that you want for smoke detectors in your homes is, one, you want them battery operated. The reason why is some of them can be hardwired in, but when the electricity goes off, you still want your smoke detectors able to keep detecting. There's also the ability for these new smoke detectors to be hardwired into your system as well. What I mean by that is when one smoke detector goes off, the other smoke detectors that are around will alarm as well. And then probably the third biggest takeaway you want from a smoke detector when you purchased one from any retail outlet is you want to ensure that they are UL certified. That is the Underwriters Laboratories. It's just the nationwide standardization and testing that all the smoke detectors and CO2 or CO1 detectors go through.
Yeah, I was going to say, where can we get these smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors that you're talking about? Because we know that when we go to buy these, at least I have, there are a plethora of different kinds that you can buy. How do we know we're buying the right kind?
That's a great question. Most smoke detectors are commonly available just about anywhere you can imagine. You can get them at Walmart's, Walgreens, Lowe's, Home Depot, etc. The big takeaway you want to look at is make sure that they have the UL certification on them. That basically means that the smoke detector has gone through the national standards and has been tested and is a good product to use. Additionally, too, when you go to purchase a smoke detector, you want to make sure that it also has that carbon monoxide detector as well, because both of those pieces together will give you the full protection that you need for your home.
Where do people make the most mistakes when it comes to getting a carbon monoxide detector and a smoke detector?
What they'll do is they'll go in and actually get the cheapest smoke detector, and the smoke detector won't be a carbon monoxide detector. So that's usually the biggest mistake that we see.
Gotcha. And then those smoke detectors that are plugged into the electric current of the home, what do you think of those compared to the ones that are on battery power?
Those are a decent option. The problem is when the electricity goes out, you lose the ability or you lose your smoke detector capability. So I always instruct people or tell people that they want to get a smoke detector that actually is battery operated as well as hardwired into the electrical grid of your home.
And when it comes to placement of these smoke detectors, outside a room, on every floor, and in hallways too, is that right?
Yes, that's correct. Basically, all of your trafficked areas, you want to make sure that you have a smoke detector present, especially in your bedrooms, and then especially in the kitchen of your home. That's one of the most common places that a fire can or sometimes does occur.
Yeah, no question. So, Patrick, we've mentioned a lot of things out there. Is there a resource tool online where people can go and kind of look at some of these different ideas you mentioned?
Certainly, if you go to or if you would like to Google or use a web search engine, you look up American Burn Association and then check out their prevention and advocacy page that's on there. There's actually a very wide selection of information that relates to pretty much anything fire related, and the smoke detectors and prevention is a big key portion of that.
American Burn Association, huh?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Well, listen, Patrick Brockway, we appreciate your time this morning. Valuable information for the thousands of people who watch us here on the Digital Desk each and every morning. Thank you. All right, we got everything working here on Action News 5's Digital Desk. Very excited about that. Also, wanted to show you a couple of things here on the Action News 5 Digital Desk. First thing I wanted to show you is this gorgeous sunrise here from our Midtown High Five camera, 62 degrees as you get up on this Monday morning. We'll be back with your forecast in 1 minute.
Thanks for joining us here on the Action News 5 Digital Desk here on a Monday morning. Near record warmth on the way to kick off the new work and school week across the Mid-South. A mixture of clouds and sunshine as well. Temperatures from the morning 50s and 60s on our way to the mid-80s through the afternoon hours. As I mentioned, near record warmth, not just today, but possibly even tomorrow as well. We'll be knocking on the back doorstep, but probably fall just short of it heading into Wednesday. But needless to say, well above average, no matter how you shake it going into this week. We're talking about high temperatures in the mid-80s as we head through the next few days, where the averages should be in the upper 60s to near 70 degrees. A first alert to some changes in the forecast that comes by way of rain and storms. They'll be pushing across the area. We desperately need the rainfall, but it comes at a critical time. Of course, spooky season rainfall. We went 26 days without rain, actually, before we caught 2/10 of an inch of rain officially at Memphis International Airport on the day Saturday. But some spots, even inside Shelby County, you saw absolutely nothing. So we are still, in a sense, still really dry across many sections of the Action News 5 coverage area. But again, looking forward, giving you that first alert. It looks like our first widespread appreciable rainfall potential comes in for Halloween. Showers and thunderstorms moving across portions of Missouri and Arkansas. The SPC's already outlined a slight risk in these areas, places like Little Rock back over towards Fayetteville, Springfield, Missouri, Branson. Those areas have a slight risk for severe weather. That is not extended into our area, so that's good news. But I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow we get a marginal risk of a few stronger storms that would encompass more sections of the Action News 5 coverage area for Thursday. So that will be something that we keep an eye on. Now, this is a course model here when you're looking at the potential for rain and storms. I think this may be a line of showers and storms, a broken line of showers and thunderstorms that will push eastward across the area, and that will bring us chances for rain and storms throughout the course of your Thursday. But the question mark is it going to be an all-day situation, or will we have some downward trends here and there? I think that there will be at least an opportunity that will start to dry out towards the evening hours, but there's still going to be rain in the vicinity of the Action News 5 coverage area as we head through Thursday evening. That will shift eastward. We'll be pretty quiet for Friday. Saturday looks to be generally pretty quiet as well. A mixture of clouds and sunshine, a passing shower or two as we get towards your Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Still a little bit more unsettled across the region, so we'll be keeping an eye on or unsettled pattern that's going to emerge as we head into the first full week of November. Of course, stay up to date with the very latest anytime and everywhere on the Action News 5 First Alert Weather app. You can download it in the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. Haven't really had to talk about the tropics all that much over the last couple of weeks, last couple of days at least. Looks like we have a medium chance of development here in the southwestern Caribbean Sea. This is not going to be moving in our direction, though, so nothing that we need to be worried about. And this is looking ahead to the next 5 to 7 days. Nothing in the short term that we need to be worried about. There's been some inklings of that Central American gyre we talked about a couple of weeks ago that was kind of the spawn-off point for storms like Milton and Francine and Helene. But again, from the standpoint of what we're seeing right now, that's going to be the spawn point for the potential for rain and storms to gather themselves as we head towards the end of this week. So nothing to worry about in the short term. And it looks like more so if it were to form, it would likely just kind of drift northward into the Atlantic at this point in time. We are getting towards the tail end of the tropical season. Of course, when you look at the climatology of hurricanes and tropical storms, the statistical peak has always been about September 10th, September 11th. We are now on the backward side of the season. So the back nine, if you will, as the storm season starts to end as we get towards the end of November. Hopefully, though, we can get through the rest of the season without anything else going on after some devastating impacts from the storms that we've had as of late. As far as the next couple of days are concerned, nothing that we need to worry about in the tropical sense. What we do need to be prepared for, the near record warmth the next couple of days. Breezy conditions that will take us into Tuesday and Wednesday. Some gusts around 30 miles per hour these days. A rogue shower chance during the afternoon hours of your Wednesday. Best rain chances coming in on Halloween on Thursday. I think there will be rain and storm opportunities. Coverage of rain will start to taper off after sunset, but at any rate, rain will have an impact on your trick-or-treating, trunk-or-treating, or whatever festivities you may have going on your Thursday. So be prepared for that and just plan accordingly. I'm not saying that anybody needs to cancel their plans, but just be prepared that rain could have an impact on that. We go into your Friday, 72 cooler, upper 60s and low 70s actually, with a partly sunny to variably cloudy sky. We go partly sunny going into your Saturday. The Pure Power BRX 5K, 10K, half marathon going across the Big River Crossing. I think we're going to be in decent shape. That the 10K and half marathon folks will go across at 8:30, I think, 8:45 for the 5K folks. But at any rate, nice and cool. Feeling pretty comfortable. Mixture of clouds and sunshine. Low end chance of a shower. Temperature up to about 64 degrees by 10 o'clock in the morning, on our way to 78 by the end of the day. Near 80 degrees. A reminder, time change week is this week. Saturday night into Sunday, and we will have those 5 p.m. sunsets soon enough. And you're sitting there getting ready for dinner on Sunday and look outside. Why is it so dark? Why does it feel like midnight? That's the reason why. Just a reminder, again, our fallback season is on the way. Monday in the upper 70s. It looks like we may be a little bit warmer. Some of the indications now coming in a little warmer for Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, but with clouds and opportunities for rain. Just a reminder, next Tuesday is the general election in the United States, so be prepared for the potential for some rain showers that could mix in for Tuesday. It's a little far out, but something that we'll keep an eye on. In the meantime, near record warmth in the short term, breezier conditions Tuesday, Wednesday, rain and storms possible for Halloween, cooler briefly for Friday, back to the 70s and 80s for the time change weekend, and the opportunities for a few showers that could mingle in from time to time heading into the first full week of the month of November.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. Pink and Pearl Awareness Day is this Friday. It is a statewide observance led by the Tennessee Department of Health. And here to tell us more about it is 2 oncologists with the Methodist Cancer Institute, Interim Medical Director Dr. Samuel Riney and breast surgeon Dr. Melanie Crutchfield Witten on the Action News 5 Digital Desk. So, good morning to you both. Let's talk about the significance of this day, Pink and Pearl Awareness Day. Melanie, let's begin with you. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. My name is Dr. Melanie Crutchfield. I am a breast surgical oncologist at Methodist Le Bonheur Healthcare, and Pink and Pearl Awareness Day is very important because, as we all know, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We celebrate breast cancer awareness all year, but this is the special month where we take time to honor our survivors and really emphasize the importance of early awareness of breast cancer. And of course, November is Lung Cancer Awareness Month, and so we also like to highlight our survivors and also highlight how early detection for lung cancer can save lives, and there are ways to detect lung cancer early.
Dr. Samuel Riney, do you want to weigh in on some of the differences and some of the similarities with Pink and Pearl Awareness Day?
Well, I think that everything Dr. Crutchfield said is of course right on the nose. It's just a significant transition point. Because these are two of the big cancer-related killers when it comes to men and women in our states and really around the country. So really marking this day as a special period of transition from a disease that is a large burden in the female population to lung cancer that is a very large burden, especially in the male population, is just a special time to get together and talk about some of the suggestions around, especially screening and prevention for those diseases.
Yeah, no question about it. So tell me what you guys have planned for on Friday.
I'll go ahead and talk about on Friday. We have a Pink and Pearl Day that is going to be planned at noon down at the Methodist Cancer Institute, which is located in the Shorb Tower at the Methodist University Hospital. And that'll be an event where we get together. Dr. Crutchfield and myself will be there, and we'll have just a special event that highlights education, prevention, screening. Will be available to answer questions that people might have. So it'll just be a fun event and a casual event where we can get together and discuss some of the aspects of breast and lung cancer and how it has impacted people's lives and how we can be vigilant as we move forward in combating these diseases. Parking will be easy. There is a parking garage attached to the building. There will also be a valet on hand. You don't have to register to attend. So if anybody is interested, you can go to methodisthealth.org and check out our event calendar and plan to attend. So we'd love to see y'all there.
Melanie, can you talk a little bit about, since you are a breast surgeon here, can you talk a little bit about breast cancer and maybe a common myth that you hear?
So with breast cancer, there are some breast cancers that are hereditary. But a common myth that a lot of women believe is that if they don't have anyone with breast cancer in their family, then they won't get breast cancer. And that's not true. In fact, 80% of women who have breast cancer do not have a hereditary linkage for breast cancer. So it's really important that all women check their breasts once a month and start getting mammograms at age 40 or 10 years before their mother or sister was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Well, listen, thank you both. We really appreciate your time here on the Digital Desk, and best of luck on Friday. I know it's going to be a great event. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, another live look from our High Five camera downtown Memphis. As we go to breaks here, 64 degrees at 8:09. We're back in 1 minute. Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. I'm Andrew Douglas. The American Red Cross, boy, they help out in all kinds of disasters, in all kinds of situations. And Hurricane Helene has been one of those situations that people that are affected in those areas, in those states, are going to have to be rebuilding and cleaning up for an extraordinary amount of time. It was just overwhelming, the disaster we're watching on TV, and certainly the American Red Cross relief efforts are underway right now. I'm joined right now by Trevor Riggin, President of Humanitarian Services with the American Red Cross. Trevor, good morning to you. Can you give us an update on how relief efforts are going right now?
Well, thank you so much for having me on, Andrew. I'm actually here in Tampa, Florida, where we have our headquarters for relief operations for the entire state of Florida for Helene and Milton. But as you described, these two storms back to back move not only through Florida, but Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, even up into Tennessee and West Virginia. And the devastation is very real. You can see just traumatic hurricane impacts, inundation and surge along the west coast of Florida, tornadoes that happened even before landfall, massive damage to homes and power all up through Georgia and South Carolina. And then as you noted, we have just extreme impact in Western North Carolina with some of the mountain communities. And right now, the Red Cross has over 2,000 Red Cross volunteers and staff on the ground serving. We have mobilized emergency response vehicles, serving hot meals, distributing supplies. We've also opened hundreds of shelters over the last 2 weeks. In fact, tens of thousands of people have come to the Red Cross and our partners for shelters when there simply was no other place to go. And we are still seeing families show up at shelters even today as that need continues, as you have extended power outages all across the area. The other impact was in reunification. With the loss of power and cell phone connectivity, thousands of families couldn't connect with their loved ones. We received over 11,000 calls for help in reunifying families. We have 200 dedicated Red Crossers working those cases today to make sure those families can reconnect. But all of this is just the beginning. We know there's a long road to recovery. We're beginning health and mental health resources. We'll begin casework, working alongside our community partners to make sure the Red Cross is there by these families for the long term.
So many families, thousands are affected by all of this. And I know that the public right now, we have thousands of people that watch us here each and every morning on the digital desk. I know they want to help. What are some of the best ways that they can help? In fact, Trevor, there was some people that reached out to me that said, hey, I have all these different supplies that I want to send. Is there a way perhaps that people can do that?
So supplies are difficult in a disaster of this scale because there's so many resources moving in, the logistics of it. In fact, I saw firsthand in North Carolina and other communities where warehouses were starting to overflow with resources. They are needed, but it's the timing of when they're needed, making sure we're not overwhelming communities. So the easiest way to mobilize not just the Red Cross, but other nonprofits is to make a financial gift. And you can go to redcross.org or call 1-800-RED-CROSS to make that donation. You can also volunteer. Our organization has more than 90% volunteers, and volunteers are needed every single day. I met a volunteer yesterday in St. Lucie, Florida, signed up on Wednesday in Seattle to become a volunteer, and by Saturday she was serving in a shelter in Florida, serving those impacted by a tornado. You can go to redcross.org, sign up. The training is free, and we get you mobilized and out there in the community. And then the last way is to donate blood. There are hundreds of blood drives that are canceled when weather like this comes in, and that there is a constant need for blood in communities. You can go to redcross.org or call 1-800-RED-CROSS, make an appointment to donate blood. That in itself could save a life.
Anything else you want our audience to know about, Trevor? I mean, this is something that unfortunately we are seeing, and it's not necessarily A1 or the first story, but it is still something that so many lives and families are profoundly changed from this point forward. Anything else you'd like them to know?
The one thing that may not be obvious if you don't live in the Southeast or haven't been in these communities impacted is the repetitive loss. So if you look at the constant hurricanes that have hit the west coast of Florida, 6 in just the last 2 years, I've talked to families in the Big Bend area of Florida who lost their home in Hurricane Ian or in Hurricane Idalia, and now they've had to ride through Debbie, Francine, Helene, and Milton, each of those bringing more loss either to their property or they've had to evacuate, which means expense. The power has been out for days, maybe even weeks, and that means they've lost all the food in the refrigerator. So just the continual impact and the repetitive loss in these communities is creating real trauma that means this isn't going to be a short-term immediate response. This will take long-term recovery to help these families move forward. And unfortunately, this is a trend we're seeing all over the country. This is not just a Florida issue. We're seeing repetitive loss and wildfires in the West and tornadoes in the middle of the country. And so we're just calling on people to join the Red Cross, whether it's making a financial donation or joining to be a volunteer. We do need your help.
Okay. Anything else before we let you go? I appreciate your time on the digital desk. I know the American Red Cross is very busy in multiple states trying to help all these people that are affected and displaced.
No, I just greatly appreciate the time and the focus on these communities as they go through what is going to be a very difficult recovery.
Yeah, no question about it. Trevor Riggin with the American Red Cross. We appreciate your time here. Thank you for coming on and explaining exactly what's happening, best ways that people can help out, reach out, and do everything they can to help so many lives that are forever changed because of these storms. We appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Back to the Action News 5 digital desk. There is an ALS walk that is scheduled to run November 2nd in Memphis, in the Memphis area. I'm joined right now by Kathleen Muck. She is development coordinator of the ALS Association. So tell me about this walk, Catherine. Good morning.
Good morning, Andrew. How are you? Thank you for having me this morning.
I appreciate you being here. So tell me about the walk.
So we have our annual ALS Walk in Memphis coming up on November 2nd, as you said. It will take place at the Memphis Botanic Gardens. It is a great community event for our ALS families to get together. They get to be in a community of like-minded caregivers, champions, and families. We currently have 26 teams registered. Our walks take place all throughout the United States, and it's something that our families really look forward to every year.
I can't think of a better place to have a walk like that. Memphis Botanic Garden is such a gem. It's so beautiful, and this is going to be a great opportunity for everybody to not only enjoy the Botanic Garden, but also do it for a great cause. So tell me how people can be a part of this.
So all you have to do, you are more than welcome to come out on the day of the walk. We always say the more the merrier. Please feel free to come see what the walk is all about. Educate yourself a little bit on ALS if you don't know what the disease of ALS is or how it progresses. Many people typically know it as Lou Gehrig's disease. So that's something that, resonates with a lot of us. We will have a care services tent, which is a piece of our, basically gives you any information that you could need on ALS for newly diagnosed families, families living with it. Otherwise, you can go to als.org and you can register there. There's a link to the Memphis Walk, and it gives you all the information on there if you'd like to join a team, if you'd like to fundraise or walk in honor of somebody, you can do that as well.
So tell me, Kathleen, tell me a little bit about ALS and some of the strides. I know that there's been some strides over the last several years. Of course, many people remember probably about 10 years or so ago, the Ice Bucket Challenge with ALS. That raised an enormous amount of money. I know that. But tell me some of the different advances combating this awful disease.
Sure. So one of the great things about our fundraising is that all of the dollars that we raise do go towards national research and advocacy, and it provides a care services piece that we have clinic for our families. As you know, our families that are on their ALS journey, it's not always easy for them to get out of the house or to be able to do the things that we take for granted every day. So our clinic gives them a one-stop shop where they get to go meet with all of their doctors in one place. And part of our fundraising helps to provide that for our families. The other thing is we're able to do research on a national level where they're looking at new advances in how the disease progresses and ways to sort of slow that down. We've had some pretty incredible calls lately with some of our research doctors that there are some, things in the work and new advancements being made. So each day is a new strive to help us find a cure. Basically, right now, we're just trying to make this disease as livable as possible for our families on this journey.
Fantastic, Kathleen. And tell us what time of day on Saturday, November 2nd at Memphis Botanic Garden?
So registration will start at 12:30. We have an area with a kids zone. So if you have kiddos and want to bring them out, they can paint pumpkins and do different things. We're kind of incorporating the fall theme with walk. And then we'll also have a DJ. And then the walk itself starts at 2 p.m. So like I said, I encourage you to either go to als.org and sign up. Feel free to come to the Botanic Garden that day and, just see what it's all about. On the website also, if you'd like to come volunteer, that's a great opportunity to get involved with the ALS Association and see, kind of areas that we have in Memphis that you can get involved. So please feel free to do that as well.
Fantastic, Kathleen. I appreciate your time on the Action News 5 digital desk. ALS.org to register for this walk. That's happening at 2 o'clock Saturday, November 2nd, Memphis Botanic Garden. Walk to Defeat ALS. Certainly an extraordinary disease that needs our attention so we can raise money and funds to one day defeat this disease. Kathleen, appreciate you coming on the digital desk. Thank you so much and good luck on November 2nd.
Thanks, Andrew. I appreciate your time. Have a great day.
Okay, you do the same.
Thanks for joining us here on the Action News 5 digital desk here on a Monday morning. Near record warmth on the way to kick off the new work and school week across the Mid-South. A mixture of clouds and sunshine as well. Temperatures from the morning 50s and 60s on our way to the mid-80s through the afternoon hours. As I mentioned, near record warmth, not just today, but possibly even tomorrow as well. We'll be knocking on the back doorstep, but probably fall just short of it heading into Wednesday. But needless to say, well above average, no matter how you shake it going into this week. We're talking about high temperatures in the mid-80s as we head through the next few days, where the averages should be in the upper 60s to near 70 degrees. A first alert to some changes in the forecast that comes by way of rain and storms. They'll be pushing across the area. We desperately need the rainfall, but it comes at a critical time. Of course, spooky season rainfall. We went 26 days without rain, actually, before we caught 0.2 of an inch of rain officially at Memphis International Airport on the day Saturday. But Some spots even inside Shelby County, you saw absolutely nothing. So we are still, in a sense, still really dry across many sections of the Action News 5 coverage area. But again, looking forward, giving you that first alert. It looks like our first widespread appreciable rainfall potential comes in for Halloween. Showers and thunderstorms moving across portions of Missouri and Arkansas. The SPC's already outlined a slight risk in these areas, places like Little Rock back over towards Fayetteville, Springfield, Missouri, Branson. Those areas have a slight risk for severe weather. That is not extended into our area, so that's good news. But I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow we get a marginal risk of a few stronger storms that would encompass more sections of the Action News 5 coverage area for Thursday. So that will be something that we keep an eye on. Now, this is a course model here when you're looking at the potential for rain and storms. I think this may be a line of showers and storms, a broken line of showers and thunderstorms that will push eastward across the area, and that will bring us chances for rain and storms throughout the course of your Thursday. But the question mark is it going to be an all-day situation, or will we have some downward trends here and there? I think that there will be at least an opportunity that will start to dry out towards the evening hours, but there's still going to be rain in the vicinity of the Action News 5 coverage area as we head through Thursday evening. That will shift eastward. We'll be pretty quiet for Friday. Saturday looks to be generally pretty quiet as well. A mixture of clouds and sunshine, a passing shower or two as we get towards your Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Still a little bit more unsettled across the region, so we'll be keeping an eye on or unsettled pattern that's going to emerge as we head into the first full week of November. Of course, stay up to date with the very latest anytime and everywhere on the Action News 5 First Alert Weather app. You can download it in the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. Haven't really had to talk about the tropics all that much over the last couple of weeks, last couple of days at least. Looks like we have a medium chance of development here in the southwestern Caribbean Sea. This is not going to be moving in our direction, though, so nothing that we need to be worried about. And this is looking ahead to the next 5 to 7 days. Nothing in the short term that we need to be worried about. There's been some inklings of that Central American gyre we talked about a couple of weeks ago that was kind of the spawn-off point for storms like Milton and Francine and Helene. But again, from the standpoint of what we're seeing right now, that's going to be the spawn point for the potential for rain and storms to gather themselves as we head towards the end of this week. So nothing to worry about in the short term. And it looks like more so if it were to form, it would likely just kind of drift northward into the Atlantic at this point in time. We are getting towards the tail end of the tropical season. Of course, when you look at the climatology of hurricanes and tropical storms, the statistical peak has always been about September 10th, September 11th. We are now on the backward side of the season. So the back nine, if you will, as the storm season starts to end as we get towards the end of November. Hopefully, though, we can get through the rest of the season without anything else going on after some devastating impacts from the storms that we've had as of late. As far as the next couple of days are concerned, nothing that we need to worry about in the tropical sense. What we do need to be prepared for, the near record warmth the next couple of days. Breezy conditions that will take us into Tuesday and Wednesday. Some gusts around 30 miles per hour these days. A rogue shower chance during the afternoon hours of your Wednesday. Best rain chances coming in on Halloween on Thursday. I think there will be rain and storm opportunities. Coverage of rain will start to taper off after sunset, but at any rate, rain will have an impact on your trick-or-treating, trunk-or-treating, or whatever festivities you may have going on your Thursday. So be prepared for that and just plan accordingly. I'm not saying that anybody needs to cancel their plans, but just be prepared that rain could have an impact on that. We go into your Friday, 72 cooler, upper 60s and low 70s actually, with a partly sunny to variably cloudy sky. We go partly sunny going into your Saturday. The Pure Power BRX 5K, 10K, half marathon going across the Big River Crossing. I think we're going to be in decent shape. That the 10K and half marathon folks will go across at 8:30, I think 8:45 for the 5K folks. But at any rate, nice and cool. Feeling pretty comfortable. Mixture of clouds and sunshine. Low end chance of a shower. Temperature up to about 64 degrees by 10 o'clock in the morning, on our way to 78 by the end of the day. Near 80 degrees. A reminder, time change week is this week. Saturday night into Sunday, and we will have those 5 p.m. sunsets soon enough. And you're sitting there getting ready for dinner on Sunday and look outside. Why is it so dark? Why does it feel like midnight? That's the reason why. Just a reminder, again, our fallback season is on the way. Monday in the upper 70s. It looks like we may be a little bit warmer. Some of the indications now coming in a little warmer for Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, but with clouds and opportunities for rain. Just a reminder, next Tuesday is the general election in the United States. So be prepared for the potential for some rain showers that could mix in for Tuesday. It's a little far out, but something that we'll keep an eye on. In the meantime, near record warmth in the short term, breezier conditions Tuesday, Wednesday, rain and storms possible for Halloween, cooler briefly for Friday, back to the 70s and 80s for the time change weekend, and the opportunities for a few showers that could mingle in from time to time heading into the first full week of the month of November.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. There is a City of Memphis hackathon that is about to begin next month. 36 hours to develop and present innovative solutions to 3 civic challenges for the City of Memphis: reducing blight in neighborhoods, improving transportation, and using AI and smart city technology. Let's talk more about this with our next guest, Jessica Lotz. She is the Executive Director of Innovate Memphis. Jessica, can you tilt your camera just a little bit down? There's a lot of headspace right there. I appreciate you joining us. Thank you on the digital desk. So tell us about this hackathon. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me today. So the hackathon is going to happen November 15th through 17th. It'll be at the University of Memphis FedEx Institute of Technology. And what we're doing is really trying to honor one of Mayor Young's good governance initiatives, and that's to bring technology talent, creativity, bright ideas to longstanding civic challenges that you've mentioned. And so anybody that wants to volunteer for this can. We are looking for people that do have some technical skills like data analysis, computer programming, but we also actually need a lot of people who are good at other things like project management, creative design. Maybe you're like me, you have a policy wonk kind of background and you just are passionate about these different issues that you've mentioned. So they'll have 36 hours in the sprint to form teams, develop one solution on how the city can improve services and residents' experiences in each of those areas. And then at the end, each team will actually present their idea to a panel of judges. And if I can do a little bit of breaking news that we just announced Friday, the top winning team, Grand Prize Best in Show, will get $2,000 thanks to our sponsors. And then we'll also award best in each of those 3 categories for $1,000 to another 3 teams, sorry.
Oh, that's fantastic, Jessica. So this is November 15th through the 17th at the University of Memphis FedEx Institute of Technology. And so I know you mentioned volunteers. You're looking for a number of different people there. Explain again what the purpose is of this event and the type of people you expect to attend.
Sure. Well, the purpose is to really help us rethink some of these long-standing civic challenges that we've had. So you mentioned the 3 categories. I can go into a little more detail about those. So the first is around blight and neighborhood improvement, and our partner on that is All World Consulting. I think we all know that with a large city like we have, with a lot of geographic area, it can be really challenging for our city leaders in solid waste, public works, other areas to maintain all of the residential areas that we have. And so the example of how people could plug in on that is to help with some data analysis, help us identify some hot spots that might need more frequent love and attention to maintain them, potentially ways that residents can self-report blight issues a little bit more frequently, a little more easily. And then other things that the city's looking for there aren't necessarily having to do with data analysis or technology, but do you have a good idea about how the city can do better community engagement on these issues, or maybe get better resident feedback about how to beautify some of the areas that have been neglected? So a lot of different things that teams can do there. On the second issue about transportation access to workforce opportunities, we know that our public transit can't cover everywhere all of the time. And there's some other issues that some of our partners that do a lot of workforce development have identified as well. So for example, we have limited routes that go to our logistics centers in the kind of southeast, southwest part of town. We also have people that might be without a license or without a car that have a hard time taking advantage of some of the skill building or job placement opportunities. And maybe some of those are, later at night or third shift, or they're sharing a car with somebody. So we also are looking for great ideas on, what are some services and ways that we can complement the things that our public transit system can provide, specifically for people that really need that leg up to get back into the workforce. And then the third area is kind of fun. It's a little bit more, blank slate, choose your own adventure. But we know that there's a lot of new exciting technology out there, like AI, camera mesh, smart city types of sensors that can track real-time traffic and movement around the city. Fiber network that Blue Suede Networks and Ting are working on. And so in that area, we just want people to dream up what are the things that the city could be using these great new tools to do that we're probably not even thinking about yet.
That sounds fantastic. I mean, it sounds like a great event for so many different people, and to get real tangible solutions developed and innovated into the city of Memphis would be a dream, right? I mean, how many people are you expecting for this event?
Well, we're hoping to get 100 total volunteers, and that's a combination of the people that would be there all weekend working on teams, as well as our behind the scenes volunteers. So we also need people to just help us make the event run smoothly. But another type of volunteer opportunity I'm really excited about with this, that we've had a lot of people want to do, is even coaching and mentoring for the teams and doing some skill building workshops throughout the weekend. So we do have volunteer opportunities for both of those, and the skill building workshop topics are going to be data visualization, how to use maps, how to use AI and sensor technology, and then also tools that you can use that don't require any kind of coding, but for software. And so that's also my plug for people that are kind of thinking, I'm not sure if I have the right technical skills for this. It's actually a benefit to come and be able to build those, or just have some hands-on experience if you've never done it before.
So how can people learn more about this event? Where can they sign up? How much is it? Do they just show up, or should they register online first?
Yes, please register online. So you can find all of this information and more on our website, hackmemphis.com. And so there will be an opportunity there to either register to be on a team or sign up to volunteer behind the scenes. The cost is really kind of fun and interesting. This is a good behavioral science thing, but to register to join a team, it's $10 up front, but we will give you $10 in cash when you show up at the door. It's just a way for us to make sure that when people sign up, they're committed to it, and that we get a really good head count so we don't waste things like food. And so that's what it takes, but it's free. And then once the people that are doing the weekend long hacking join, you get free meals for every meal during that time. You get a very cool t-shirt that we're about to release the logo for, and skill building opportunity to meet new people and do something really great for the city.
That sounds fantastic. I love it. Hackmemphis.com. Jessica Lotz, we really appreciate your time on the Digital Desk, and best of luck on an amazing event, November 15th through the 17th, Hack Memphis. Thanks for coming on the Digital Desk and telling us all about it. We appreciate it.
All right. Thanks for the opportunity. Take care.
You got it. Thank you. All right. Another live look from our High Five camera downtown Memphis. Not looking too bad there. 64 degrees at 8:39. We're back in 1 minute. Everyone, welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. The holiday season is approaching. For many, it's already here, and many are facing that familiar pressure of assessing their finances, managing holiday spending, tackling stress. It always can be very stressful out there around meeting and saving goals. So let's talk about this topic with our next guest here. I am joined by Cash App's financial therapist, Lindsay Bryan Pavitt. She is here to offer some guidance on evaluating your spending for the year with some tips and tricks to help you stress less, save more, and end the year with a fresh perspective on finances. So, Lindsay, where do we begin on all this? Good morning.
Good morning. So where we begin is at the very top. I invite everybody to do something called a money check-in. That's where you look at how much you're earning, how much you're spending, and how much you're saving toward those different financial goals. Once you have that baseline figured out, then you can make some wise financial decisions around how much money you have to spend on the holiday season, and also how much you want to be saving up for not just this year, but the year ahead as well.
Okay, excellent, excellent. So we do that, and then what are next steps? Because the spending can get out of control like that, and a lot of other things can happen too that are detrimental to the bottom line, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you nailed it. What often happens with us is that the holiday season comes upon us. We have invitations to holiday parties. We get roped into a bunch of different gift exchanges, and it feels like before we know it, we've overspent or we haven't been able to hit those different financial goals we set for ourselves. So that's why the money check-in is the very first step. Then after that, you might have to do something a little bit uncomfortable, Andrew. You might have to say no. You might have to say, no, I can't attend that party, or no, I can't participate in another gift exchange. Or if maybe you live in a different state than your family, you might have to say, no, I'm not traveling home this time. And even though it feels so uncomfortable in the moment, what it does is protect us from that financial stress after the holiday season of looking and seeing that we have overspent. So first is getting a lay of the land financially, then it's figuring out how much money you have available to spend, and then it might mean saying no. And saying no, again, might feel a little bit uncomfortable, but it helps us to hit our goals for this year and for the year to come.
When I think of the holidays, I think of a lot of things, but the last thing, and if I think of anything when it comes to the holidays, I don't typically think of saving money. But where can saving money be a part of it all, Lindsay?
Yeah, I agree with you. It can feel a little bit like an oxymoron. So often we do just focus on not spending as much, but I also like to think about how can we save more? And that's where using a tool such as Cash App Savings can be really helpful in this moment, especially with something like Roundup. That is where with your Cash App card, every single time you spend on that holiday gift, you are rounding up to the nearest dollar and adding to your savings account. So that's where that you can kind of get a 2-for-1, where every time you are spending on a gift, you are actually adding to your savings account. And the great thing about the savings account is it is high yield. So you're earning more money on that savings account, fueling those goals for this year and beyond.
I like that. I like that, Lindsay. Thank you. Now, this next one is, when we're setting goals for 2025, always good to have kind of that savings account or emergency savings account if something goes wrong, or we need some finances in a crunch. But that is something, that we should be working on 365 days out of the year, right?
It's interesting. So many of us think that the stricter I am or the more stringent I am about hitting that emergency fund goal, the better off I'll be. But what so many of us know who have set a big, audacious goal right out of the gate is that we lose that momentum over time, and especially when it comes to saving. If we don't give ourselves permission to treat ourselves along the way, we can often feel like we are deprived or we are depleted of fun, and then we kind of swing in that other direction. So that's where doing something where you are saving up for the future and making sure to take care of yourself and practice a little bit of financial self-care by doing things like injecting some sweet treats along the way for yourself can be really helpful. So yes, save ahead, set those goals, But don't think of it as an either or. It is really, I am saving up for this particular goal and I'm enjoying myself along the way. That helps to build momentum and that builds a sustainable financial habit.
I like what you're saying, Lindsay, and I also like the idea of practicing gratitude and not be so hard on yourself if you don't meet those goals exactly the way you want to meet them, right?
Yeah, exactly. So many of us, when we hit those or when we get just a little bit shy of that goal, we tell ourselves, oh my gosh, well, I didn't achieve that goal. And that's just not fair. I like to think about progress, not perfection. So maybe you had a goal of saving up $500 this year in your rainy day fund. And as the year comes to a close, you're closer to 350 or 400. Instead of saying, oh my gosh, I didn't meet my goal, I invite people to say, oh my gosh, I saved up $350 or I saved $400. How did I do that? What were the things that I did really well? And how can I use those lessons to help build on that emergency fund or that rainy day fund so that when 2025 comes, I don't feel like I have missed my goal, rather I have made it 80% of the way toward that goal.
I like that, Lindsay. Makes sense for me. Anything else you want to mention before we let you go?
Yeah, I think something that's important to keep in mind, not just this holiday season, but all of the time, is that money is emotional and it's okay to feel your feelings when it comes to money, and including them is really important. And if you need a specific tool to help you out, I highly recommend going to cash.app/savings.
Okay, Lindsay Bryan-Pavan, I really appreciate your time here on the Digital Desk. Thank you for giving us some tips this holiday season. We definitely need it, and we appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. The Memphis Botanic Garden, what a gem it is here in the city of Memphis. It's a gem being used for everyone across Memphis and the Mid-South. And they have some amazing holiday workshops upcoming over the next few weeks. I'm joined right now by Carly Zamora. She is Adult Education Coordinator at Memphis Botanic Garden. And Carly, I love how we do these interviews and you're outside in the Botanic Garden showing us just a little sliver of what we can expect when we go by there. And I loved reading some of these holiday workshops. I mean, you really do have something for everyone. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. Absolutely. Now that we're starting to see all the colors shift and change in all of our foliage and our trees, I had to be out here just to show you guys how beautiful it's starting to get in the garden, especially in our woodlands area right now, and to kind of get you guys excited, like you said, for some of our holiday, fall, and winter themed workshops we have coming up. So we like to kind of cater to everybody, have a little bit for, people who just want to do flower things, just want to have some fun drinking events maybe coming up. So we've got a lot going on at the garden this season.
Yeah, you certainly do. And these are things that everyone can get involved in. It's something that really, I think you have something for everyone, right?
Absolutely. So for example, this weekend, we have some classes such as our enameling on copper class. It's actually a hands-on metal forming class. Really cool if you want to learn to make your own jewelry. We also have fire cider workshop where you learn how to make fire cider from herbs that we grow in our own herb garden. We also have some fun things coming up in November. So November 1st, we have a collaboration with Midtown Bramble and Bloom where we'll be making dried flower wreaths, which are really cool. because that means that you can hold on to them for year round and use them again next year. November 17th, we also have a really fun one with Hunter Coleman. So Hunter is the bar manager at Bari Ristorante and the director of mixology and product management at Waymar Gin House. So Hunter is going to be bringing this autumn alchemy class to us in November. And that's basically going to be 3 different mixed drinks. It's going to be a bourbon, a gin, and a Montenegro drink, where you're going to learn how all these different flavors of cinnamon and nutmeg and vanilla all form together to make these beautiful drinks. So that'll be a really fun class if you want to kind of kick back, relax, bring some girlfriends, or have a date night. Either would be good. We also have some ornament making classes. So the same person that does all of our jewelry making classes, Brandy Boyd. Brandy is also going to be making chainmail ornaments in one of her classes. So that'll be really fun, in my opinion, for some teenagers and some parents to kind of join in on, because it's really hands-on and really easy to get into. And you'll be making 4 different ornaments in this one class and learning how to fold and binge chainmail, which is really cool. And then in December, we have our silver clay gifts class. So that is a class that we typically do every December, and that is the same thing where you're going to get hands-on with jewelry, but you're going to use clay essentially and learn what silver clay is. So we have hands-on things, we have jewelry making, we have herbs that turn into drinks. We have lots of stuff going on.
No question about it. I love it. So just to review, November 1st, dried flower wreaths and Midtown Bramble in bloom. November 17th, the Autumn Alchemy with Hunter Coleman with all kinds of different flavors. You mentioned bourbon, Montenegro, gin. That sounds amazing. You're speaking my language right there. And November 23rd, you have colorful ornaments. Is that chainmail ornaments, I believe? November 23rd there from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. And December 15th, Silver Clay Gifts Jewelry class from 10 to 5 once again. Amazing workshops there. What else can we talk about?
Absolutely. So with everything going on at the garden right now, we're actually also gearing up to our Holiday Wonders coming up. So Holiday Wonders we hold every single year. Our first opening date is going to be November 29th and run all the way through the end of December. We're super excited for that. I also am helping be in charge of our holiday night. So if you like Holiday Wonders and you like going out to see Christmas lights, but you don't necessarily want to have a bunch of kids running around, or you want to bring your significant other and have a date night, a girls' date night, have a bunch of friends together, our holiday night is going to be November 5th. December 5th. That's really exciting for us. You'll be able to come, enjoy some drinks, and we'll also have a craft that you'll be able to do at the holiday night party. And that is going to be these terrarium ornaments, where you'll get to pay your ticket. It's no extra cost to make these ornaments. We'll have air plants that you can bring or you can use into your ornaments and decorate them with ribbon and hang them in your Christmas trees. It'll be a really fun time. That's something I'm super excited about coming up in December as well.
Oh, yeah. I mean, how could I forget Holiday Wonders? Just a gorgeous time frame, and the Botanic Garden, gorgeous 365 days a year, turns in and transforms into the holiday season. And then that date night, love that idea, December 5th. Where can people go to get all this information online to kind of pick and choose which workshops and which days to go to Memphis Botanic Garden?
Absolutely. So I know we covered a lot of information. So if you'd like to read the information, see pricing for any of these classes, or buy tickets, you can go to membg.org. And under one of our tabs, you'll find upcoming classes and events. You'll click on that and you'll see everything we talked about today.
All right. Carly Zamora, you really brought it this morning. Nice job labeling and naming all those different events that you have going on. No script either. I'm watching. You have no notes. You just like naming it from off the top of your head. Great job. Can't wait to go to the Memphis Botanic Garden this holiday season. So many great things. Just go to their website. You can see all of them, because you're right. We did talk about a lot here. Thank you so much for joining us on the Digital Desk. Carly, we appreciate it.
Of course. Bye, Andrew.
Thanks for joining us here on the Action News 5 Digital Desk here on a Monday morning. Near record warmth on the way to kick off the new work and school week across the Mid-South. A mixture of clouds and sunshine as well. Temperatures from the morning 50s and 60s on the way to the mid-80s through the afternoon hours. As I mentioned, near record warmth, not just today, but possibly even tomorrow as well. We'll be knocking on the back doorstep, but probably fall just short of it heading into Wednesday. But needless to say, well above average, no matter how you shake it going into this week. We're talking about high temperatures in the mid-80s as we head through the next few days, where the averages should be in the upper 60s to near 70 degrees. A first alert to some changes in the forecast that comes by way of rain and storms. They'll be pushing across the area. We desperately need the rainfall, but it comes at a critical time. Of course, spooky season rainfall. We went 26 days without rain, actually, before we caught 2/10 of an inch of rain officially at Memphis International Airport on the day Saturday. But some spots, even inside Shelby County, you saw absolutely nothing. So we are still, in a sense, still really dry across many sections of the Action News 5 coverage area. But again, looking forward, giving you that first alert. It looks like our first widespread appreciable rainfall potential comes in for Halloween. Showers and thunderstorms moving across portions of Missouri and Arkansas. The SPC's already outlined a slight risk in these areas, places like Little Rock back over towards Fayetteville, Springfield, Missouri, Branson. Those areas have a slight risk for severe weather. That is not extended into our area, so that's good news. But I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow we get a marginal risk of a few stronger storms that would encompass more sections of the Action News 5 coverage area for Thursday. So that will be something that we keep an eye on. Now, this is a course model here when you're looking at the potential for rain and storms. I think this may be a line of showers and storms, a broken line of showers and thunderstorms that will push eastward across the area, and that will bring us chances for rain and storms throughout the course of your Thursday. But the question mark is it going to be an all-day situation, or will we have some downward trends here and there? I think that there will be at least an opportunity that will start to dry out towards the evening hours, but there's still going to be rain in the vicinity of the Action News 5 coverage area as we head through Thursday evening. That will shift eastward. We'll be pretty quiet for Friday. Saturday looks to be generally pretty quiet as well. A mixture of clouds and sunshine, a passing shower or two as we get towards your Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Still a little bit more unsettled across the region, so we'll be keeping an eye on or unsettled pattern that's going to emerge as we head into the first full week of November. Of course, stay up to date with the very latest anytime and everywhere on the Action News 5 First Alert Weather app. You can download it in the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. Haven't really had to talk about the tropics all that much over the last couple of weeks, last couple of days at least. Looks like we have a medium chance of development here in the southwestern Caribbean Sea. This is not going to be moving in our direction, though, so nothing that we need to be worried about. And this is looking ahead to the next 5 to 7 days. Nothing in the short term that we need to be worried about. There's been some inklings of that Central American gyre we talked about a couple of weeks ago that was kind of a spawn-off point for storms like Milton and Francine and Helene. But again, from the standpoint of what we're seeing right now, that's going to be the spawn point for the potential for rain and storms to gather themselves as we head towards the end of this week. So nothing to worry about in the short term. And it looks like more so if it were to form, it would likely just kind of drift northward into the Atlantic at this point in time. We are getting towards the tail end of the tropical season. Of course, when you look at the climatology of hurricanes and tropical storms, the statistical peak has always been about September 10th, September 11th. We are now on the backward side of the season. So the back nine, if you will, as the storm season starts to end as we get towards the end of November. Hopefully, though, we can get through the rest of the season without anything else going on after some devastating impacts from the storms that we've had as of late. As far as the next couple of days are concerned, nothing that we need to worry about in the tropical sense. What we do need to be prepared for, the near record warmth the next couple of days. Breezy conditions that will take us into Tuesday and Wednesday. Some gusts around 30 miles per hour these days. A rogue shower chance during the afternoon hours of your Wednesday. Best rain chances coming in on Halloween on Thursday. I think there will be rain and storm opportunities. Coverage of rain will start to taper off after sunset, but at any rate, rain will have an impact on your trick-or-treating, trunk-or-treating, or whatever festivities you may have going on your Thursday. So be prepared for that and just plan accordingly. I'm not saying that anybody needs to cancel their plans, but just be prepared that rain could have an impact on that. We go into your Friday, 72 cooler, upper 60s and low 70s actually, with a partly sunny to variably cloudy sky. We go partly sunny going into your Saturday. The Pure Power BRX 5K, 10K, half marathon going across the Big River Crossing. I think we're going to be in decent shape. That the 10K and half marathon folks will go across at 8:30, I think 8:45 for the 5K folks. But at any rate, nice and cool. Feeling pretty comfortable. Mixture of clouds and sunshine. Low end chance of a shower. Temperature up to about 64 degrees by 10 o'clock in the morning. On our way to 78 by the end of the day. Near 80 degrees. A reminder, time change week is this week. Saturday night into Sunday. And we will have those 5 p.m. sunsets soon enough. And you're sitting there getting ready for dinner on Sunday and look outside. Why is it so dark? Why does it feel like midnight? And that's the reason why. Just a reminder, again, our fall back season is on the way. Monday in the upper 70s. It looks like we may be a little bit warmer. Some of the indications now coming in a little warmer for Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, but with clouds and opportunities for rain. Just a reminder, next Tuesday is the general election in the United States. So be prepared for the potential for some rain showers that could mix in for Tuesday. It's a little far out, but something that we'll keep an eye on. In the meantime, near record warmth in the short term, breezier conditions Tuesday, Wednesday, rain and storms possible for Halloween, cooler briefly for Friday, back to the 70s and 80s for the time change weekend, and the opportunities for a few showers that could mingle in from time to time heading into the first full week of the month of November.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. Let's talk a little bit about pickleball. We've talked about how it is the fastest growing sport in the U.S. right now. There has been a report released, 36.5 million people have played pickleball at least once in the last year. That's 14% of the adult population. But here's the thing, with all these people playing pickleball, in some of those games, and some of those matches are very competitive. I've seen it firsthand. There are injuries associated with pickleball. In fact, Memphis's own Campbell Clinic just released the first and only study of its kind talking about the most common injuries when it comes to pickleball. Let's talk to someone who knows a little bit about this recent study. I have the pleasure now to join, to have Dr. Fred Azar, Chief of Staff of Campbell Clinic, joining us on the Action News 5 Digital Desk. Dr. Azar, always good to see you. How are things at Campbell Clinic? Good morning.
Great to see you. Thanks for having me. Everything's
Appreciate
great.
you being here. So let's talk about this first of its kind study that really kind of dives deep into some of the most common injuries associated with pickleball.
So we noticed a few years ago that we had some patients coming in with these pickleball injuries, and there was a little bit of a pattern. People in their 50s, 60s, and 70s were coming in with injuries, and we felt like there was a need to make them aware that these injuries could happen playing pickleball. So we looked around the literature, and there was really not much in the literature to educate our patients. So we decided to do this study. We wanted to, first of all, review the literature to see what was out there, and secondly, we launched a survey so we could get our patients to participate in this survey to give us information that we could provide broadly. So we published this study. It's not published yet, but it's been accepted for publication. It'll be out soon. It's got information on raising the awareness of pickleball injuries, review the literature, and also we've included our survey with some information there on some recommendations on how to avoid injuries.
So let's talk about some of the most common injuries that you saw in this study when it came to pickleball.
So we found that we've so far have over 500 participants. This is our survey. Not the raw literature, but it's pretty much in sync with what's out there in the literature. About 55% were women, 45% men, and 2/3 were more than 55 years of age. The majority of injuries are soft tissue injuries, meniscal tears, tendonitis like Achilles tendonitis or rotator cuff tendonitis, back strains, ankle sprains are pretty common. About 40% were fractures, the most common being wrist fractures from falls, usually backwards when attempting to go back to make a shot.
Got it. Are there maybe some best practices? We have so many people that love pickleball. Are there maybe some best practices out there to try and prevent some of these injuries, doctor?
Certainly, the number one thing is awareness you can get hurt. This is a sport that's relatively new, just raising the awareness for that. Certainly warming up is really important. You want to be able to warm up and cool down properly, just like you do with any sport. You need proper equipment, so shoe wear is really important. Running shoes aren't great for it. A tennis shoe is better, it's a more low-profile shoe. Some people want to brace a knee or an ankle if they've got an ailment. That's important to do. And also really moderation and cross-training. It's not great to play this sport 5 days a week, 3 hours at a time. You're going to come in with some overuse injury. Hydration is really important too. We actually found that, and I don't mean alcohol, we found that 6% of participants, at least in our survey, were consuming alcohol while playing the sport. So it's really important to think about hydrating, but not in that respect. It's a pretty social sport, but hydrating without alcohol is a pretty good way to go. And then really play to your level. Don't try and play somebody who's going to be a lot tougher than you competition-wise. Play to your level. Listen to your body. So if you think you've got something brewing, step aside and let somebody else play.
Alcohol during pickleball, that sounds crazy and scary and something that no one should be able to do. I mean, because
it's not like golf.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on there. I mean, where I work out at my gym, there are pickleball courts, and they're always packed, and there are some fierce games. And you're part of the Memphis Mid-South area. I mean, you've seen all these pickleball courts going up everywhere. I mean, it is growing fast across the country and here in the U.S. Some people think it's an older person's sport, but I'm seeing everybody, young, old, all demographics playing this sport. Anything else you'd like to share, Dr. Azar, about this to maybe kind of minimize anyone getting hurt?
Well, you're right. It started out as an older person's sport, but now everybody's playing it. I think that the important thing for us is to bring awareness to patients and people that are playing the sport that you can become injured. And raising that awareness we think is really important. And then giving some information on how we can do to prevent injuries. That's what we're all about, injury prevention. And people that want to participate in our survey, go to campbellclinic.com. You can click on the link to the survey. We're trying to get more information out there so we can build a survey and we can advance the knowledge of this sports to all people who are participating in it.
Okay, so 500 participants, a part of this study, and you said, is it posted right now on campbellclinic.com so our viewers can see for themselves?
The survey is available. The publication will be out soon, and we'll have that link too. But we want people to participate in the survey. Again, we've got over 500 people so far. We want to add to that survey.
Got it. All right, Dr. Fred Azar, Campbell Clinic Chief of Staff. Really appreciate your time on the digital desk. Feel free to come on any other time to keep us up to date on whatever's happening, pickleball or not. Thanks so very much. Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. We are a world right now awash in so much information. I mean, tons. More than we've ever seen in world history. Some of it is quality information, some of it isn't, especially when you see artificial intelligence like generative AI being passed along to all of us as something that's real when it actually isn't. So how do we combat misinformation without limiting free speech? I'm joined right now by Wendy Bound. She is an author and a journalist. She's on the digital desk right now to talk more about this issue. So Wendy, good morning to you. Let me ask you, how do we combat misinformation without limiting our First Amendment right to free speech? Good morning.
Good morning, Andrew. You know, you're asking the right question, and leading up to the November 5th election, as you noted, people are being flooded with all sorts of information. Much of it is quality, but some of it, as you noted, is not, and some of it is dangerously wrong. You know, we have two influences I think we need to pay attention to. One is that more of us are getting our news from social media than ever before. And you also gave a nod to another factor, which is the powerful advances we are seeing in artificial intelligence, which are leading people to create what's known as misinformation. And Americans, they are legitimately concerned. We have new data out this morning from Smart News showing that 85% of Americans are concerned about attempts to mislead voters in this election. And fortunately, there are some things we can do to protect ourselves, and I think that's what you and I are going to talk about here.
Yeah, I would like to discuss more about it because, you know, when I hear the term combating misinformation, I get a little bit worried, if I can be completely honest with you. Being a journalist like yourself, the last thing we want is to limit free speech out there, no matter what platform. And certainly when it comes to free speech, you know, we want to give it to everybody. But again, that concern of limiting free speech when you have generative AI, I totally get that. That's fake. That's made up. It's just the other stuff that it gets, there's a lot of gray area there. So how do we combat it without that free speech being lost?
Yeah, I like the balance with which you're asking this question, Andrew, because look, let's face it, there's a lot of good that has come from digital technology and from social media. It allows us to exchange ideas, as you were noting, and it also allows the candidates themselves to have a deeper connection with their audiences. But in times like when you are choosing who to vote for and you need to make sure that the information you're receiving is accurate, I do think it is incumbent upon us as Americans to actually play our own defense and offense in terms of how we look and vet for information. For instance, I think traditional media sources such as you all at Action News 5 and what we do at Smart News, where we are a free app which curates hundreds of sources from all sides of the political spectrum, but we have people who vet these sources before we put them into the app for their reliability and their accuracy. And we have teams of safety analysts and journalists looking at the information 24/7, making sure that stories in there are fair and are accurate and pulling them out if they're not. These are important things that people can do when they're looking for traditional media sources to rely upon. I also think, though, like, look, we're in our social media feed. Let's play defense on this. Do you see something that doesn't tick some of these boxes? Let's look for the FACs. F, are you looking at something that's coming from someone who perhaps is a fake expert, someone who actually doesn't have expertise in the subject? Are you looking at a piece of content that is designed to make you feel angry, right? This is another warning sign. And C, for the FACs, are you looking at something that is putting forth a conspiracy theory? These are some warning signs as well. And Andrew, there are also places people can go themselves to check information that they're seeing online. They can look at websites like PolitiFact or AP Fact Check or Reuters Fact Check, and they can see if some of these memes or things that kind of just raises an eyebrow to them, they can look themselves and take some responsibility there to see if these things are accurate. So those are a few things we can do to balance out both our ability to live in a world with free speech, as you noted, but also to make sure that the information we're getting is quality information.
That is so key, and I'm glad you brought that up. I'm curious to learn more a little bit about the Smart News app. The fact check stuff that you just mentioned, that is an issue with a lot of people, not just me, but a lot of Americans. Just 5 days ago, Gallup released a poll that said only 31% of Americans have a great deal of trust or fair amount of trust in the media reporting news accurately or fairly. 31%, all-time lows. I'm sure you know about this. More adults have no trust, zero, in the media. That's 36%. And compared to 1972, it was around 70%. So when you have PolitiFact and AP Fact Check, you know, there's a lot of people that kind of roll their eyes saying, whoa, 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 they have an agenda. But I'm curious about your Smart News app, because if they're tackling misinformation in a different way, then I'm all ears about.
Look, I think, you know, at Smart News, one of the things, again, that we have always done since our founding here in the U.S. is to try and deliver, as I said before, news from all sides. So you should be, you know, seeing perspectives that you might not see necessarily just elsewhere if you're going to one or two media sites. I think that's very important. I think, look, as journalists, we all have to live up to the responsibility of the fact that we have the privilege of coming into people's homes, as you all do at Action News 5, and as we do on the app and Smart News. And we have to take very seriously and live up to that responsibility by ensuring that the information we're delivering is fact-checked to the greatest ability that we can. I want to note one really interesting thing, Andrew, which is that when we did our survey, we did not see a big divide on the political spectrum in terms of people being concerned about misinformation. And this really struck me. We saw roughly 60% of both Republicans and Democrats concerned about misinformation. But here's something I think you'll find interesting. Where there was diversity is in the age. Baby boomers were far more concerned about misinformation. I think nearly 3/4 of them were. Whereas Gen Z, the generation that has grown up with technology really at their fingertips, they were far less concerned. Really, just a little more than 1/3 of them were worried about that. So I think we have a gap here, and that's something we need to continue to address.
Final question, Wendy. When it comes to finding those sources or spotting misinformation from a mile away, what can viewers, readers, people watching the news, what can they do in order to figure it out what's true, what's not?
I think the first thing is, look, trust your gut. I think Americans are very smart. And I think sometimes we'll see something and we'll have a little twinge. We'll kind of know it doesn't actually pass the sniff test. And if it makes us really angry because it doesn't support the candidate that we do, then that's a good test for yourself. And if it's also just something that seems off, if we have seen generative AI images of some of the presidential candidates being incarcerated or being arrested, right? That's a warning sign of something to go check on some of those sites that we talked about. And I just think that, you know, being able to vote and being able to vote with the most accurate information in our heads is one of the greatest privileges of being an American. And so that's the call to action I would issue to my fellow citizens.
Okay, Wendy Bounds, we appreciate this discussion very much, a discussion that needs to be had certainly on all levels. Thank you so much for your time. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. Concussions, boy, they happen every day. In fact, 5 million people go to the emergency department for a traumatic brain injury. And if left untreated, concussions can lead to serious long-term health effects. They can happen to anyone, and 14 million people ages 65 and over fall each year from common accidents that could lead to discussion. So let's talk a little bit more about this topic with a couple of people that are joining us on the digital desk. Chris Devlantes is a practicing ER physician, senior medical director at Abbott's Point of Care Diagnostic Business, and Catherine Cameron, senior director at the National Council on Aging, joining us on the digital desk. So good morning to you both. Let's talk about some of the most important signs and symptoms that everybody should recognize when it comes to concussions. Good morning.
Good morning, Andrew.
Doctor, let's begin with you.
So thanks, because concussions are a really important topic. As you mentioned, we see them in the emergency room about every 15 minutes. There'll be a concussion that occurs in the U.S. And the signs and symptoms vary. Everyone thinks of these as sports-related injuries, but actually more than half of them happen from simple falls. The signs vary depending on the type of injury. It can be delayed. It can be headaches, trouble with your vision, trouble with concentration, insomnia, vomiting, dizziness, all kinds of symptoms. Some of these happen right away. Sometimes they happen later after they had the injury occur. So it's really important to recognize the signs and symptoms and to seek medical attention right away.
Catherine, over to you. A lot of people think of concussions. They think of athletes. They think young people. But concussions often happen to older adults. Tell me more about some of the issues and the problems when it comes to people maybe over the age of 60, 65 and concussions.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, falls actually are the leading cause of injuries among people over the age of 65. And about 1 in 4 older adults will experience a fall every year, and about 20% of those will have some type of serious and life-threatening injury like a concussion. And concussions really impact the quality of life for older adults. In fact, recent data shows that people over the age of 75 have the highest rates and numbers of hospitalizations and deaths associated with concussions. So it's a very serious circumstance for many older adults. They can result in a stroke, mental health changes, memory changes, cognitive changes. So our message is, take falls very seriously. Falls are not a normal part of aging. And we know that there are many things that we can do to prevent falls. And we can talk a lot about what those things are in just a moment.
Yeah, absolutely. But Chris, I want to go back over to you and talk specifically about maybe those signs and symptoms that people should watch for every day if they think perhaps the possibility of a concussion.
Thanks, Andrew. Yeah, the signs and symptoms are really important to watch for, and sometimes they come on right away, sometimes they come on later. The important thing to do is remember to go get checked out. Headaches can be ongoing. 17% of people that suffer concussion are unemployed a year after their brain injury. So these things are not insignificant. It's important to recognize if you're not feeling right, if you're not acting right, if you're having trouble with your memory, trouble with your balance, vomiting, sometimes depression, fatigue. The symptoms are variable and they're very vague, so a lot of people brush it off and don't get checked. And we see this a lot in the common public. General falls, it's not the Titans fan, it's not the player on the field that comes into my emergency room that we're seeing for concussions as often as it is the public. It's the Titans fan in the living room tripping over the rug on their way to the kitchen to get a snack during the commercial break, or people tailgating out in the parking lot. So remember to get checked out. The symptoms may happen right away. They may come on later, but be evaluated in the emergency department. If you're not sure, get it checked out.
Catherine, let's talk about maybe resources and steps that we can all take to make sure that our loved one who's a little bit older has a decrease in the chances of falling in our home and in our area.
Yeah, there are so many things that older adults and their caregivers can do to prevent a fall. We really feel that older adults have the power to prevent a fall. And we believe there are six, sort of simple steps that people can start with to reduce that risk for falling. The first is to have a conversation with your doctor about falls. And because doctors can actually assess that risk and provide recommendations on things that can happen to reduce that risk. Next is to get good exercise that includes strength building, improving balance, and flexibility. Those are three really important things that we all need to do to reduce our risk for falls. Also, making our homes as safe as possible. Most falls actually happen in the home, and there are simple things that we can do, like improving lighting, making sure that our homes are clutter-free, removing those trip hazards like cords and rugs, things like that, and installing grab bars in our bathrooms because bathrooms have hard surfaces, and that's where we see a lot of concussions actually happen. I'm a pharmacist, and I recommend every older adult get their medications reviewed at least once a year because side effects of medications can increase the risk for falling. We also recommend vision and hearing checks every year. And in addition, ask for help from family members, friends, because there are many things that people can do to help you, like making some of those changes in the home that I talked about.
Okay, finally, I'd leave it open to both of you. Any lasting recommendations, ideas, tips that we haven't talked about that you guys would like to say right now?
Thanks, Andrew. Yeah, it's really important to remember to get checked out. And as Kathy mentioned, there are people that are higher at risk, especially in the older population who are on blood thinners. Many times we have to do a CAT scan to make sure there's no serious injury to the brain, bleeding in the brain, bleeding around the brain. Don't delay care. We now even have a blood test available in many emergency rooms where we can actually determine whether a CAT scan is even needed, because the majority of the time the CAT scan is normal, but there's still a brain injury that's occurred. So my take-home message is, when in doubt, check it out.
In addition, there are a couple of great resources available for older adults. One is concussionawarenessnow.org to learn about concussions. In addition, the National Council on Aging has a lot of resources on falls prevention, including the Falls Free Checkup, which is a simple 13-question survey that you can take to learn about your personal risk for falls. And you can find that at ncoa.org/falls.
Chris and Catherine, appreciate your time on a very important discussion here on the Digital Desk. Thank you. All right, welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. There is the art of negotiating that's going to be happening on the University of Memphis campus in the College of Business. I'm joined right now by John Cicala. He is an assistant professor of teaching, director of MBA programs there. John, good to have you on the Digital Desk. So tell me about this idea, the art of negotiating, and this workshop that's happening soon. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. I'm glad we got the audio working better now. This is a little funky setup, but what we're going to be doing, negotiation is one of those areas that so many people can always be better at. And it was the very first course I took when I was in grad school 20 years ago. I fell in love with it. And I think it's something that we can help everybody do a better job with when they're collaborating, working with others, whether it's negotiating for business, which is the main angle for our workshop on November 21st, or whether they're just wanting to negotiate better in personal lives. However, the skills that we're going to help teach them are wonderfully transferable between personal and professional lives.
I would think so. I mean, you know, you need communication skills no matter what you do in any profession, and certainly that can bleed over into your personal life too. Communication and then negotiating, persuasiveness, that sort of thing. So, so give me the fundamentals. Like, what's going to be happening at this workshop, and what do you teach students there?
All right, what we're going to do is Thursday afternoon, November 21st from 1 to 4. It's a 3-hour session. We're going to have some basic concepts, a little bit of lecture, and give them some information, take a little bit of a break. And then for the second half of the workshop, we're going to do some simulated negotiations so they can practice some of the things that we talked about in the first half, some of the skills and concepts and tactics and strategies that we share with them. They can actually practice it with other people at the workshop so that when they go back to their jobs, they've had a little firsthand experience with it. Some of the concepts that we're going to talk about, and there are so many variables in a negotiation between doing your homework and knowing your side, but you also have to understand your counterpart side, what their interests are. One of the courses when I was being trained in this, I was taught very early on that the secret to making it work for you is to make certain that it works for them. And if you can get everybody on the same page and kind of find common themes and things that you have working together with the other side, it makes it a lot easier. But unfortunately, so many people tend to take more of a positional, this is what I want, and cross their arms and then just refuse to budge. And that's not very helpful, and that's not good negotiating.
Is negotiating and compromise, is that synonymous? Give me the difference.
I don't know that there's a difference, but I think in a good negotiation, there has to be compromise. Nobody's going to walk away with every single thing that they wanted to get. The only way that happens is if the other side doesn't get anything that they want. So when we teach collaborative or principled negotiation, the concept and the idea is to work together with the other side, that things that can benefit me can benefit you, and you're working together, especially in a business context. Because I don't know that I would want to enter into a contractual obligation with somebody else if they weren't willing to work with me and, you know, put together a good plan and a good agreement that works for everybody as best as it can work for everybody. If someone's just looking to gain for themselves at my expense, I don't want to do business with that kind of person. That's not going to be good for me in the long run.
Yeah, that's a good point, John. I appreciate that. So Thursday afternoon, November 21st, from 1 to 4 at the Fogelman College there on campus, you're going to be teaching this executive session, this executive education programming. Is this just for students? Is it open to the public?
Oh, no.
How's it going to work?
Absolutely open to the public. If people would go into like Google and just do a search for Memphis Executive Training, or FCBE, Fogelman College of Business and Economics, negotiation, it will take them to the webpage for our executive training series. And from there, they can click on leadership, emerging leaders. That will take them to the course. And the course is titled Negotiation 101, Negotiation for Business. And there's a link right there they can click to register for the program. It is wide open. We encourage large business, small business, anybody that thinks they could be better at negotiating, anybody that has to negotiate at their work, whether it's working with vendors, putting out disputes and conflicts internally, any type of negotiating that they feel they have to do and they want to be better at doing it, this is for them.
Okay. Well, listen, John Cicala, we appreciate your time here on the Action News 5 Digital Desk. Thank you so much for taking a minute. And we look forward to hearing more and more about the School of Business there and this art of negotiating, this amazing powerhouse program that is not only for students, but for the entire Mid-South. We appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it.
Appreciate
Thanks for joining us here on the Action News 5 Digital Desk here on a Monday morning. Near record warmth on the way to kick off the new work and school week across the Mid-South. A mixture of clouds and sunshine as well. Temperatures from the morning 50s and 60s on our way to the mid-80s through the afternoon hours. As I mentioned, near record warmth. Not just today, but possibly even tomorrow as well. We'll be knocking on the back doorstep, but probably fall just short of it heading into Wednesday. But needless to say, well above average, no matter how you shake it going into this week. We're talking about high temperatures in the mid-80s as we head through the next few days, where the averages should be in the upper 60s to near 70 degrees. A first alert to some changes in the forecast that comes by way of rain and storms. They'll be pushing across the area. We desperately need the rainfall, but it comes at a critical time. Of course, spooky season rainfall. We went 26 days without rain, actually, before we caught 2/10 of an inch of rain officially at Memphis International Airport on the day Saturday. But some spots, even inside Shelby County, you saw absolutely nothing. So we are still, in a sense, still really dry across many sections of the Action News 5 coverage area. But again, looking forward, giving you that first alert. It looks like our first widespread appreciable rainfall potential comes in for Halloween. Showers and thunderstorms moving across portions of Missouri and Arkansas. The SPC's already outlined a slight risk in these areas, places like Little Rock back over towards Fayetteville, Springfield, Missouri, Branson. Those areas have a slight risk for severe weather. That is not extended into our area, so that's good news. But I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow we get a marginal risk of a few stronger storms that would encompass more sections of the Action News 5 coverage area for Thursday. So that will be something that we keep an eye on. Now, this is a course model here when you're looking at the potential for rain and storms. I think this may be a line of showers and storms, a broken line of showers and thunderstorms that will push eastward across the area, and that will bring us chances for rain and storms throughout the course of your Thursday. But the question mark is it going to be an all-day situation, or will we have some downward trends here and there? I think that there will be at least an opportunity that will start to dry out towards the evening hours, but there's still going to be rain in the vicinity of the Action News 5 coverage area as we head through Thursday evening. That will shift eastward. We'll be pretty quiet for Friday. Saturday looks to be generally pretty quiet as well. A mixture of clouds and sunshine, a passing shower or two as we get towards your Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Still a little bit more unsettled across the region, so we'll be keeping an eye on or unsettled pattern that's going to emerge as we head into the first full week of November. Of course, stay up to date with the very latest anytime and everywhere on the Action News 5 First Alert Weather app. You can download it in the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. Haven't really had to talk about the tropics all that much over the last couple of weeks, last couple of days at least. Looks like we have a medium chance of development here in the southwestern Caribbean Sea. This is not going to be moving in our direction, though, so nothing that we need to be worried about. And this is looking ahead to the next 5 to 7 days. Nothing in the short term that we need to be worried about. There's been some inklings of that Central American gyre we talked about a couple of weeks ago that was kind of a spawn-off point for storms like Milton and Francine and Helene. But again, from the standpoint of what we're seeing right now, that's going to be the spawn point for the potential for rain and storms to gather themselves as we head towards the end of this week. So nothing to worry about in the short term. And it looks like more so if it were to form, it would likely just kind of drift northward into the Atlantic at this point in time. We are getting towards the tail end of the tropical season. Of course, when you look at the climatology of hurricanes and tropical storms, the statistical peak has always been about September 10th, September 11th. We are now on the backward side of the season. So the back nine, if you will, as the storm season starts to end as we get towards the end of November. Hopefully, though, we can get through the rest of the season without anything else going on after some devastating impacts from the storms that we've had as of late. As far as the next couple of days are concerned, nothing that we need to worry about in the tropical sense. What we do need to be prepared for, the near record warmth the next couple of days. Breezy conditions that will take us into Tuesday and Wednesday, some gusts around 30 miles per hour these days. A rogue shower chance during the afternoon hours of your Wednesday. Best rain chances coming in on Halloween on Thursday. I think there will be rain and storm opportunities. Coverage of rain will start to taper off after sunset, but at any rate, rain will have an impact on your trick-or-treating, trunk-or-treating, or whatever festivities you may have going on your Thursday. So be prepared for that and just plan accordingly. I'm not saying that anybody needs to cancel their plans, but just be prepared that rain could have an impact on that. We go into your Friday, 72 cooler, upper 60s and low 70s actually, with a partly sunny to variably cloudy sky. We go partly sunny going into your Saturday. The Pure Power BRX 5K, 10K, half marathon going across the Big River Crossing. I think we're going to be in decent shape. That the 10K half marathon folks will go across at 8:30, I think 8:45 for the 5K folks. But at any rate, nice and cool. Feeling pretty comfortable. Mixture of clouds and sunshine. Low wind chance of a shower. Temperature up to about 64 degrees by 10 o'clock in the morning, on our way to 78 by the end of the day. Near 80 degrees. A reminder, time change week is this week, Saturday night into Sunday, and we will have those 5 p.m. sunsets soon enough. And you're sitting there getting ready for dinner on Sunday and look outside. Why is it so dark? Why does it feel like midnight? That's the reason why. Just a reminder, again, our fall back season is on the way. Monday in the upper 70s. It looks like we may be a little bit warmer. Some of the indications now coming in a little warmer for Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, but with clouds and opportunities for rain. Just a reminder, next Tuesday is the general election in the United States, so be prepared for the potential for some rain showers that could mix in for Tuesday. It's a little far out, but something that we'll keep an eye on. In the meantime, near record warmth in the short term, breezier conditions Tuesday, Wednesday, rain and storms possible for Halloween, cooler briefly for Friday, back to the 70s and 80s for the time change weekend, and the opportunities for a few showers that could mingle in from time to time heading into the first full week of the month of November.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. I'm Andrew Douglas, and living with eczema. If you have it, or perhaps you have a family member that does, it can be so difficult and so very frustrating for those caught in that relentless cycle of chasing flares and the redness and the itchiness and the rashes that occur. And they can occur anywhere all over the body. The good news is there is a brand new once daily steroid-free cream that can really help manage and help control eczema so you can enjoy your summer and all throughout the year, all the months throughout the year. Let's bring in a board-certified dermatologist to talk about this new once daily cream. I'm joined now by Dr. Adam Friedman. He is on the digital desk, and Doctor, thank you for joining us. Let's talk about this issue and not only the issue of eczema, living with it and some of the difficulties, but this new breakthrough. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. No, thanks so much for having me here. And you teed it up perfectly. This is one of the most common chronic relapsing inflammatory skin diseases that also commonly imparts a horrific impact on quality of life and also skin. And to your point that it can occur anywhere on the body and the spectrum of clinical presentations is so diverse, making the right diagnosis can be a challenge. And so for me, one of the helpful clues when trying to distinguish this from other things, the itch of atopic dermatitis really stands out as an itch that feels amazing to scratch, but not so amazing because that scratching will actually make the condition worse, but also add a level of ostracism because people will say, well, just don't scratch, you'll get better. And that's absolutely not true. And that actually adds to the burden of disease by saying something like that. So that's why I've partnered with Arcutis to really raise awareness about the condition, but also to your point, talk about new options that can really get this under control.
Okay, so let's talk about that, Doctor, because we know that the summer months, that's kind of when a lot of people that live with eczema, those that condition tends to flare up, doesn't it?
It can, so the physical heat, which we've had plenty of, the sweating that ensues, but also products we use to protect ourselves from the sun and from bugs. All of those can uniquely worsen active disease or even wake it up to begin with. But this is a year-round problem. Different elements, different environmental factors can trigger this. So patients are worrying about the next flare even during a flare, which absolutely sounds horrible. That's a really horrible way to live in terms of foreseeing when this is even going to get worse. And the summer can certainly do that.
So let's talk about ways that people can care for their skin if they have eczema throughout the year, whether it's winter, summer, spring, fall, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so there's some basic rules that apply year-round for everyone. First is limit soap use and make sure you're using a soap that is meant for someone with eczema. It actually will say it on the bottle. More importantly, apply a moisturizer to damp skin, to trap water into the skin, as dry skin is a central piece of this condition, and your skin needs a little bit of water in there for it to make itself correctly. Now, these are great, but often don't cut it. And that's where FDA-approved medications, whether it be topical or even systemic, meaning they work from the inside out, can be extraordinarily impactful. And the most recent one that was just approved is called Zoryve or Roflumilast, 0.15% cream that is indicated for once-a-day use for mild to moderate eczema for those 6 and up. And remember, this affects so many ages. It's important to have options that can be used across that spectrum.
Where can people go to learn more information about this new medication, maybe some of the side effects? Are there any, by the way, and where can they go?
Yeah, so first off, easy answer. You can go to Zoryve, ZORYVE.com for more information about the medication and atopic dermatitis. In terms of safety, overall, very well tolerated. The most common side effects included headache, nausea, and site application pain. But this only occurred in roughly a few % of those studied. And we're talking about a study over 1,000 people in number. So when you have a study that size, it gives you a lot of confidence about the data with respect to how a drug will behave in individuals suffering with this condition.
Anything else, Dr. Freeman, you'd like to mention with regards to living with eczema, how to take care of your skin, this new medication? Anything else?
Yeah, I think this is the era of eczema. Just 10, 15 years ago, we had very limited options, and now there's so much attention being paid to this condition. Also, it's important to note that someone suffering eczema is not on their own island. This condition can affect the entire family because of its impact on sleep, school, job, you name it. So getting it under control and maintaining that control is of the utmost importance for everyone.
Okay, Dr. Adam Freeman, board certified dermatologist, we appreciate your time. Thank you for illuminating us to some of the new treatments for eczema and best practices. We appreciate it. Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. I'm Andrew Douglas. Let's talk a little bit about what to know when it comes to liver cancer. I'm joined right now by Rachna Shroff. She is a MD, a doctor, and at the University of Arizona Department of Medicine, joining us on the digital desk. So where do we begin when it comes to awareness for liver cancer? Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, you know, liver cancer is the sixth most common cause of cancer and a leading cause of cancer death worldwide. The most common form of it is hepatocellular carcinoma, and we know it's one of the fastest rising in terms of incidence globally. And unfortunately, because it doesn't produce a lot of specific symptoms, up to 70% of patients by the time they're diagnosed have what we call advanced liver cancer, which means they can't undergo a surgery to cure them, unfortunately.
So how do we find liver cancer earlier? It seems like with all cancers, doctor, the earlier you find it, the better. But then there's some cancers like pancreatic and I guess in some cases liver cancer where you find it and it's almost too late, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, we do have, you know, over half of patients diagnosed at advanced stages. And with 41,000 people diagnosed every year, it's important to partner with AstraZeneca and be able to raise awareness around, like you mentioned, how do you find it earlier? We know that the risk factors for developing liver cancer include underlying cirrhosis or inflammation of the liver, and that can come from alcohol use, metabolic syndrome that leads to fatty liver disease, hepatitis infections. And so those people who have those types of histories should be and could be followed earlier. We don't have an obvious screening tool like a colonoscopy, but they can at least be followed with imaging.
Can you go through maybe some of the signs and symptoms for our audience out there? We have thousands of people watching on the digital desk.
Yeah, you know, there's vague kind of non-specific symptoms, things like abdominal pain, weight loss, fatigue. Any of those things should kind of make you seek out medical attention, as well as jaundice, where your eyes or skin turn yellow, or you have darkening of your urine. Those types of things should really merit evaluation of your underlying liver function and then can lead to imaging and other potential diagnoses.
A lot of people think when they say liver cancer, they think there may be a drinking issue. What are some stigmas that people face and have to overcome?
Yeah, you know, I think we're working really hard to erase those stigmas. Absolutely, excessive alcohol use and hepatitis infections from historically things like IV drug use can lead to cirrhosis. But actually what we're seeing more and more now is a shift more towards that fatty liver disease from metabolic syndrome and lifestyle types of choices that can lead to cirrhosis and then liver cancer. So we're seeing more and more of those types of lifestyle related factors as opposed to things like alcohol. But regardless, it shouldn't be about the stigma because we now have options for treatment. And so we want to be able to diagnose people earlier so that we can get them started on these treatment options.
Let's talk about those treatment options because you mentioned there's several different kinds.
Yeah, you know, we now know that immunotherapy is a viable treatment option for liver cancer. And what that means is training your body's own immune cells to activate and hunt and kill cancer cells. And in fact, in 2022, we had an FDA approval with Imfinzi and Imjudo, which is an immunotherapy combination. And that was based on a large phase 3 trial called the Himalaya trial. And in this large trial, what we found is that this combination of immunotherapy can reduce the risk of death from liver cancer by 22%. And then we just had more long-term follow-up data come out in September of this year. And what was so exciting to see is that with this combination, 20% of patients were still alive at 5 years with this treatment compared to, say, 9% in the people who had the standard treatment options. And even more impressively, yes, all medications, there's risks of side effects and toxicities. But even with this immunotherapy combination, it's important to look for those new symptoms and side effects and talk with your doctor if you develop any of them. But in general, it was a really well-tolerated treatment option for patients.
That sounds great. You know, new treatments always are a benefit to the patient. Anything else about needs for the patient population when it comes to liver cancer?
Well, I think the most important thing to recognize is that this is a time for optimism and hope. Patients are living longer than we've ever seen before with liver cancer, and their quality of life, they're having meaningful quality of life because it's such a well-tolerated treatment option. But, talking with your doctor, being in close contact with the medical professionals so that we can manage the disease as well as any symptoms that come from treatment is important. And patients can inform themselves using online resources like imfinzi.com, imfinzi.com, which has a wealth of resources about liver cancer, treatment, side effect management, et cetera.
That sounds like a great place to wrap up this interview. We appreciate it, Doctor. Thanks so much for the information. A lot there where people can go and find online. We appreciate your time on the digital desk. Thanks very much.
Thanks so much for having me.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital is world-renowned for its work in pediatric cancer research and treatment. And as part of its mission to defeat cancer, St. Jude is raising awareness with an important message for parents. HPV vaccination is cancer prevention. Let's talk more about this issue right now with Heather Brandt. She is Director of HPV Cancer Prevention Programs at St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, joining us on the Action News 5 digital desk. Heather, good morning to you. Tell us about the HPV Cancer Prevention Program there, and maybe some more interesting headlines when it comes to HPV. Good morning.
Good morning. Our program at St. Jude Children's Research Hospital is focused on promoting on-time HPV vaccination among children ages 9 to 12. As you and many of those watching know, St. Jude has a long-standing commitment to serving children and families and curing catastrophic diseases, and we don't yet know how to prevent the cancers for which children are treated every day here at St. Jude. However, HPV vaccination is cancer prevention. And so by focusing on-time HPV vaccination among children, we're able to prevent 6 types of cancer in adulthood. And so our program is focused on ensuring that parents, caregivers, those who are making vaccination decisions for families and children have the information they need to know HPV vaccination is very safe, it works very well, and it provides long-lasting protection.
So, Heather, we know here in Memphis in the Mid-South, St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, what a gem for our community to have you and everyone at St. Jude in our backyard. Tell us some of the misconceptions about HPV that are out there.
So there are several myths and misconceptions about HPV vaccination. First, one of the more common misconceptions is that HPV vaccination is only relevant to girls and women. And nothing could be further from the truth. HPV vaccination is for everyone, males and females. In fact, the most commonly diagnosed HPV cancer is oral pharyngeal cancer, which occurs at the base of the tongue and tonsils, and that cancer is most commonly diagnosed in men. followed by cervical cancer in women. So this means that HPV is cancer prevention for everyone, and HPV vaccination is routinely recommended for males and females. A second is about the safety of the vaccination. This vaccine is very safe. We have more than 18 years of safety and monitoring data to tell us that this vaccine is like all other vaccines in terms of some pain, soreness, redness, swelling at the injection site, but otherwise, no additional safety considerations or concerns for us to worry about. And then lastly, we often hear, how do we really know that giving this vaccine to children is going to prevent cancers in adulthood? And we're starting to see those benefits. We're starting to see reductions of HPV precancers and cancers, and some countries like Australia, which have really high HPV vaccination coverage, they're on track to eliminate HPV cancer, starting with cervical cancer by the year 2035. So this is a vaccination that's for everyone. It's safe and it works really well to prevent HPV cancers.
Okay, and so we have thousands of people that watch us each and every morning here on the Digital Desk, Heather. If there's some parents out there that want some more information, do they contact their pediatrician about it? How do they go about getting the HPV vaccine?
So we encourage parents to talk to their child's healthcare provider to ask and get answers to their questions. We also want parents to be prepared for those conversations. And so we hope that people will visit our website, stjude.org/HPV and stjude.org/prevent-HPV. We have several resources, including frequently asked questions about HPV vaccination, more details on the recommendation for which children should be getting HPV vaccination, which is basically all children ages 9 to 12 should complete the 2-dose series so that parents can be prepared for those conversations with their child's healthcare provider.
Okay, Heather Brandt with St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Thank you so much for joining us and spelling it out for us, HPV, the vaccine, and when parents should consider it for their children. We appreciate your time.
Thanks for joining us here on the Action News 5 Digital Desk here on a Monday morning. Near record warmth on the way to kick off the new work and school week across the Mid-South. A mixture of clouds and sunshine as well. Temperatures from the morning 50s and 60s on our way to the mid-80s through the afternoon hours. As I mentioned, near record warmth, not just today, but possibly even tomorrow as well. We'll be knocking on the back doorstep, but probably fall just short of it heading into Wednesday. But needless to say, well above average, no matter how you shake it going into this week. We're talking about high temperatures in the mid-80s as we head through the next few days, where the averages should be in the upper 60s to near 70 degrees. A first alert to some changes in the forecast that comes by way of rain and storms. They'll be pushing across the area. We desperately need the rainfall, but it comes at a critical time. Of course, spooky season rainfall. We went 26 days without rain, actually, before we caught 2/10 of an inch of rain officially at Memphis International Airport on the day Saturday. But Some spots even inside Shelby County, you saw absolutely nothing. So we are still, in a sense, still really dry across many sections of the Action News 5 coverage area. But again, looking forward, giving you that first alert. It looks like our first widespread appreciable rainfall potential comes in for Halloween. Showers and thunderstorms moving across portions of Missouri and Arkansas. The SPC's already outlined a slight risk in these areas, places like Little Rock back over towards Fayetteville, Springfield, Missouri, Branson. Those areas have a slight risk for severe weather. That is not extended into our area, so that's good news. But I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow we get a marginal risk of a few stronger storms that would encompass more sections of the Action News 5 coverage area for Thursday. So that will be something that we keep an eye on. Now, this is a course model here when you're looking at the potential for rain and storms. I think this may be a line of showers and storms, a broken line of showers and thunderstorms that will push eastward across the area, and that will bring us chances for rain and storms throughout the course of your Thursday. But the question mark is it going to be an all-day situation, or will we have some downward trends here and there? I think that there will be at least an opportunity that will start to dry out towards the evening hours, but there's still going to be rain in the vicinity of the Action News 5 coverage area as we head through Thursday evening. That will shift eastward. We'll be pretty quiet for Friday. Saturday looks to be generally pretty quiet as well. A mixture of clouds and sunshine, a passing shower or two as we get towards your Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Still a little bit more unsettled across the region, so we'll be keeping an eye on or unsettled pattern that's going to emerge as we head into the first full week of November. Of course, stay up to date with the very latest anytime and everywhere on the Action News 5 First Alert Weather app. You can download it in the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. Haven't really had to talk about the tropics all that much over the last couple of weeks, last couple of days at least. Looks like we have a medium chance of development here in the southwestern Caribbean Sea. This is not going to be moving in our direction, though, so nothing that we need to be worried about. And this is looking ahead to the next 5 to 7 days. Nothing in the short term that we need to be worried about. There's been some inklings of that Central American gyre we talked about a couple of weeks ago that was kind of the spawn-off point for storms like Milton and Francine and Helene. But again, from the standpoint of what we're seeing right now, that's going to be the spawn point for the potential for rain and storms to gather themselves as we head towards the end of this week. So nothing to worry about in the short term. And it looks like more so if it were to form, it would likely just kind of drift northward into the Atlantic at this point in time. We are getting towards the tail end of the tropical season. Of course, when you look at the climatology of hurricanes and tropical storms, the statistical peak has always been about September 10th, September 11th. We are now on the backward side of the season. So the back nine, if you will, as the storm season starts to end as we get towards the end of November. Hopefully, though, we can get through the rest of the season without anything else going on after some devastating impacts from the storms that we've had as of late. As far as the next couple of days are concerned, nothing that we need to worry about in the tropical sense. What we do need to be prepared for, the near record warmth the next couple of days. Breezy conditions that will take us into Tuesday and Wednesday. Some gusts around 30 miles per hour these days. A rogue shower chance during the afternoon hours of your Wednesday. Best rain chances coming in on Halloween on Thursday. I think there will be rain and storm opportunities. Coverage of rain will start to taper off after sunset, but at any rate, rain will have an impact on your trick-or-treating, trunk-or-treating, or whatever festivities you may have going on your Thursday. So be prepared for that and just plan accordingly. I'm not saying that anybody needs to cancel their plans, but just be prepared that rain could have an impact on that. We go into your Friday, 72 cooler, upper 60s and low 70s actually, with a partly sunny to variably cloudy sky. We go partly sunny going into your Saturday. The Pure Power BRX 5K, 10K, half marathon going across the Big River Crossing. I think we're going to be decent shape. That the 10K and half marathon folks will go across at 8:30, I think 8:45 for the 5K folks. But at any rate, nice and cool. Feeling pretty comfortable. Mixture of clouds and sunshine. Low end chance of a shower. Temperature up to about 64 degrees by 10 o'clock in the morning, on our way to 78 by the end of the day. Near 80 degrees. A reminder, time change week is this week. Saturday night into Sunday, and we will have those 5 p.m. sunsets soon enough. And you're sitting there getting ready for dinner on Sunday and look outside. Why is it so dark? Why does it feel like midnight? That's the reason why. Just a reminder, again, our fallback season is on the way. Monday in the upper 70s. It looks like we may be a little bit warmer. Some of the indications now coming in a little warmer for Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, but with clouds and opportunities for rain. Just a reminder, next Tuesday is the general election in the United States, so be prepared for the potential for some rain showers that could mix in for Tuesday. It's a little far out, but something that we'll keep an eye on. In the meantime, near record warmth in the short term, breezier conditions Tuesday, Wednesday, rain and storms possible for Halloween, cooler briefly for Friday, back to the 70s and 80s for the time change weekend, and the opportunities for a few showers that could mingle in from time to time heading into the first full week of the month of November.
Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. If you eat seafood, you play a part in keeping our oceans healthy and thriving by selecting what's called sustainable seafood. Wherever you buy it, you see those things, maybe little logos on packages, sustainable seafood. Well, now is the perfect time to put it in the spotlight on the health of our oceans and the role played by sustainable seafood. So what's the difference between seafood and sustainable seafood, and why is it so important? Why does it matter? Let's bring in someone to talk about this very issue right now, joined by Teresa Ish, oceans and environment expert with the Walton Family Foundation. Let's talk about what exactly, Teresa, sustainable seafood is and why it matters. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, October is National Seafood Month, so it is a really great time to consider and think about what it means to eat sustainably. I think for a lot of us, when we think about who produces our food, an image of a farmer on a tractor comes to mind. But fishermen are a vital part of our food system. And so whether you live on the coast or 1,000 miles from the nearest beach, the seafood that you choose matters. And when you choose sustainable seafood, you're choosing to support a healthy ocean and responsible fishermen. When we talk about sustainable seafood, what we mean is finding this balance between protecting ocean health and also feeding a growing population that is increasingly reliant on the ocean for food. And by protecting the ocean, we hope to help people and nature thrive together.
So tell me exactly what sustainable seafood means.
Sustainable seafood is about the practices that fishermen are using to catch the fish. It's about the management that the government and the oversight that the government is putting over the fishery to ensure that the right amount of fish is coming out without damaging the ecosystem. And it's about the science that goes into understanding how our ocean is changing and how resilient it is to the fishing pressure. And when these three things come together, the ocean is really amazingly resilient, and fish populations can improve, and they can continue to provide vital nutrients for the world and important jobs and livelihoods for communities along the coast.
So let's talk about some tips for consumers out there when they're shopping and looking for sustainable seafood.
Well, around the world, when you eat chicken, you eat one species of chicken. There are 2,500 different kinds of seafood we eat, and this diversity really means that no matter what your flavor profiles that you like, your budget, there is a sustainable seafood out there for you. And fortunately, when you go to the grocery store, most grocery stores have sustainable seafood. You mentioned in the lead-in that there are certifications and logos that you can look for, and that's a great way to know that an external body has looked at the science and the health of that fishery and verified that it's sustainable. If you go to your favorite grocery store or restaurant and there are no labels Ask what they're doing to protect the health of the ocean and support fishing communities. Most grocery stores in the United States have made commitments to buy and sell sustainable seafood. They should have that information for you at the fish counter.
What is non-sustainable seafood? Just so we're understanding exactly what this is all about.
Unsustainable seafood often comes from fisheries that aren't regulated. There are fishermen sometimes who are taking out more than they're allowed to take, and this harms the ocean, it harms the surrounding ecosystems, it harms other animals that are not necessarily targeted for fishing, like dolphins and turtles. And so by managing fisheries for sustainability, we really use that regenerative power of the ocean to recover the fish stocks that we like to eat, which in turn supports all of the other parts of the ecosystem that are really important for ocean health. So sustainable seafood tends to use fishing gears that are lower impact on the ocean, and also supports the fishermen themselves who are doing the work. So it's both environmentally and socially responsible.
Where can we get more information for the thousands of people that watch us each and every morning on the digital desk to know the differences between sustainable seafood and not sustainable seafood, and just learn more about how important this relationship is?
There's more information on sustainable seafood and its impact on the ocean at waltonfamilyfoundation.org.
We are talking with someone within the Methodist Transplant Institute who donated one of her kidneys to a stranger about 7 years ago. I'm joined now by Joanne Morris. She is someone who did this within the transplant unit. She's a dietitian at Methodist. Joanne, good morning. I appreciate you joining us on the digital desk. Tell me about your journey. How did we get to this point?
Well, good morning. Thank you for having me and letting me share a little bit about my story in organ donation. So I've been a dietitian at Methodist here for 11 years, and it was never on my bucket list or something to do to give away a kidney to a stranger, but working with patients day in and day out in our transplant clinic, I just felt like I was better educated and aware about the critical need of needing more living donors, and then also seeing the joy of people receiving their kidneys. And I just felt called by God, this is something that I needed to do.
That is amazing, and it's an incredible selfless act. I appreciate you sharing your story with us. And so was it just working day in and day out at the Transplant Institute where you just felt called to give your kidney to a stranger?
Yes, so I mean, definitely pulls on the heartstrings to see people suffering, because kidney disease is something that affects your quality of life day in and day out. And not all conditions and diseases have treatments like kidney disease does. I mean, there is kidney transplant, so that definitely improves somebody's quality of life. I was very fortunate that I did not have a direct family member or friend who needed my kidney, but I have learned kidneys do not care where they go, and I didn't care either. And it was just important to me that somebody improve their life and get off of dialysis.
Wow. Okay. So tell us about the recovery process, because I think a lot of people would be very intimidated with the idea of being healthy and then deciding to give a kidney to someone who they don't know, and that whole process. What's the recovery, and what was the recovery like for you?
Right. So my surgery and recovery went very much textbook like the team told me it would. They told me it would take 4 to 6 weeks to completely recover, and it did. I was in the hospital 3 days, went home to my family who helped take care of me. And other than, of course, the incisional pain, I had no other major complications, and that was pretty much gone by 2 weeks. So other than just taking a short pause on my life for about 6 weeks, it didn't negatively impact my life at all.
That's incredible, Joan. Tell me a little bit more about how and if your quality of life has changed.
Right. So before donating, I was working active, a mother, and I was able to continue doing those things. I came back to work here at the transplant clinic 5 weeks after my donation, and then we wanted to extend our family, which we were able to do, and I gave birth to a little beautiful girl about a year after I donated. I love to hike the national parks, and I go hiking and working and enjoy all my same passions, so it did not have any negative impacts on my quality of life whatsoever.
And there are a lot of people that are on the list right now looking for a kidney donor, right? Can you talk a little bit about that and how people are on dialysis and they need a donor right away?
Right. So living donation is the best option. It gives you so many more years of quality of life, 15 to 25 years from a living donor kidney, which is amazing to think that you can give somebody an extra 25 years of those big milestones and small moments with their families. Dialysis, of course, is a great way to maintain your life till a transplant, but it's not optimal quality of life. And so that's where living donors and deceased donors can come in to kind of bridge the gap.
What do you wish everyone knew about organ donation? Maybe some misconceptions out there.
Right. So some misconceptions is you don't have to, know you're a recipient. Kidneys do not care where they go. Number 2, you don't have to be in perfect health. I've definitely, working with the transplant team for the last 11 years, we take donor safety as a top priority, and I fully trusted them with my own donation evaluation that they would have never pushed me through if I wasn't a great candidate. So you don't have to be in perfect health. Don't rule yourself out. You also don't have to be a remarkable or completely inspirational person. You can just be a regular person like me to do this. And it's been one of the most joyful things I've ever done, and I don't ever have any regrets with my donation.
You said you're a mother, and how many kids do you have, if you don't mind me asking? And you mentioned that you had a kid after you gave your kidney, right?
I did. So when I donated, I had a 2-year-old beautiful boy who is going to be 10 this summer. And then it was definitely important to me and my husband that we wanted to still extend our family after I donated. So for donor safety, most transplant teams ask mothers consider waiting 6 months to a year after donating to have another child. And then I gave birth to my beautiful little girl about a year after I donated.
Wow. Okay. Is there a place where someone can go online and just kind of learn more about, not just your story, just the whole process?
Correct. So you, of course, can learn at our Methodist Hospital University website. And then you can go to thebigaskbiggive.com or the National Kidney Foundation. There's so many good quality resources that patients can learn about living and deceased donation. So especially if you're feeling called to do that, educate yourself. Don't rule yourself out. You can fill out a questionnaire online, and then a nurse coordinator will call you to ask you more questions.
Anything else you want to say, Joan? You are quite the inspiration this morning.
Well, this wasn't my life plan to do this. I'm very grateful I was able to do it. There's such a high need of people to be living donors and deceased donors, and it's not as overwhelming as sometimes the misconception is. It's had no negative impacts on my life, and it's a beautiful thing just to give to really help somebody. So especially if you enjoy giving, it's a beautiful, valuable thing to do to help your community.
Joan Morris, We appreciate you, dietitian at the Methodist Transplant Institute, also donated your kidney to a total stranger there. I appreciate you telling us this story, and thank you for really kind of shedding a light on not just your story, but the whole process of donating a kidney, being perfectly healthy before and after. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us here on the Action News 5 Digital Desk here on a Monday morning. Near record warmth on the way to kick off the new work and school week across the Mid-South. A mixture of clouds and sunshine as well. Temperatures from the morning 50s and 60s on our way to the mid-80s through the afternoon hours. As I mentioned, near record warmth, not just today, but possibly even tomorrow as well. We'll be knocking on the back doorstep, but probably fall just short of it heading into Wednesday. But needless to say, well above average, no matter how you shake it going into this week. We're talking about high temperatures in the mid-80s as we head through the next few days, where the averages should be in the upper 60s to near 70 degrees. A first alert to some changes in the forecast that comes by way of rain and storms. They'll be pushing across the area. We desperately need the rainfall, but it comes at a critical time. Of course, spooky season rainfall. We went 26 days without rain, actually, before we caught 2/10 of an inch of rain officially at Memphis International Airport on the day Saturday. But some spots, even inside Shelby County, you saw absolutely nothing. So we are still, in a sense, still really dry across many sections of the Action News 5 coverage area. But again, looking forward, giving you that first alert. It looks like our first widespread appreciable rainfall potential comes in for Halloween. Showers and thunderstorms moving across portions of Missouri and Arkansas. The SPC's already outlined a slight risk in these areas, places like Little Rock back over towards Fayetteville, Springfield, Missouri, Branson. Those areas have a slight risk for severe weather. That is not extended into our area, so that's good news. But I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow we get a marginal risk of a few stronger storms that would encompass more sections of the Action News 5 coverage area for Thursday. So that will be something that we keep an eye on. Now, this is a course model here when you're looking at the potential for rain and storms. I think this may be a line of showers and storms, a broken line of showers and thunderstorms that will push eastward across the area, and that will bring us chances for rain and storms throughout the course of your Thursday. But the question mark is it going to be an all-day situation, or will we have some downward trends here and there? I think that there will be at least an opportunity that will start to dry out towards the evening hours, but there's still going to be rain in the vicinity of the Action News 5 coverage area as we head through Thursday evening. That will shift eastward. We'll be pretty quiet for Friday. Saturday looks to be generally pretty quiet as well. A mixture of clouds and sunshine, a passing shower or two as we get towards your Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Still a little bit more unsettled across the region, so we'll be keeping an eye on or unsettled pattern that's going to emerge as we head into the first full week of November. Of course, stay up to date with the very latest anytime and everywhere on the Action News 5 First Alert Weather app. You can download it in the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. Haven't really had to talk about the tropics all that much over the last couple of weeks, last couple of days at least. Looks like we have a medium chance of development here in the southwestern Caribbean Sea. This is not going to be moving in our direction, though, so nothing that we need to be worried about. And this is looking ahead to the next 5 to 7 days. Nothing in the short term that we need to be worried about. There's been some inklings of that Central American gyre we talked about a couple of weeks ago that was kind of a spawn-off point for storms like Milton and Francine and Helene. But again, from the standpoint of what we're seeing right now, that's going to be the spawn point for the potential for rain and storms to gather themselves as we head towards the end of this week. So nothing to worry about in the short term. And it looks like more so if it were to form, it would likely just kind of drift northward into the Atlantic at this point in time. We are getting towards the tail end of the tropical season. Of course, when you look at the climatology of hurricanes and tropical storms, the statistical peak has always been about September 10th, September 11th. We are now on the backward side of the season. So the back nine, if you will, as the storm season starts to end as we get towards the end of November. Hopefully, though, we can get through the rest of the season without anything else going on after some devastating impacts from the storms that we've had as of late. As far as the next couple of days are concerned, nothing that we need to worry about in the tropical sense. What we do need to be prepared for, the near record warmth the next couple of days. Breezy conditions that will take us into Tuesday and Wednesday, some gusts around 30 miles per hour these days. A rogue shower chance during the afternoon hours of your Wednesday. Best rain chances coming in on Halloween on Thursday. I think there will be rain and storm opportunities. Coverage of rain will start to taper off after sunset, but at any rate, rain will have an impact on your trick-or-treating, trunk-or-treating, or whatever festivities you may have going on your Thursday. So be prepared for that and just plan accordingly. I'm not saying that anybody needs to cancel their plans, but just be prepared that rain could have an impact on that. We go into your Friday, 72 cooler, upper 60s and low 70s actually, with a partly sunny to variably cloudy sky. We go partly sunny going into your Saturday. The Pure Power BRX 5K, 10K, half marathon going across the Big River Crossing. I think we're going to be in decent shape. That the 10K half marathon folks will go across at 8:30, I think 8:45 for the 5K folks. But at any rate, nice and cool. Feeling pretty comfortable. Mixture of clouds and sunshine. Low wind chance of a shower. Temperature up to about 64 degrees by 10 o'clock in the morning, on our way to 78 by the end of the day. Near 80 degrees. A reminder, time change week is this week, Saturday night into Sunday, and we will have those 5 p.m. sunsets soon enough. And you're sitting there getting ready for dinner on Sunday and look outside. Why is it so dark? Why does it feel like midnight? That's the reason why. Just a reminder, again, our fallback season is on the way. Monday in the upper 70s. It looks like we may be a little bit warmer. Some of the indications now coming in a little warmer for Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, but with clouds and opportunities for rain. Just a reminder, next Tuesday is the general election in the United States, so be prepared for the potential for some rain showers that could mix in for Tuesday. It's a little far out, but something that we'll keep an eye on. In the meantime, near record warmth in the short term, breezier conditions Tuesday, Wednesday, rain and storms possible for Halloween, cooler briefly for Friday, back to the 70s and 80s for the time change weekend, and the opportunities for a few showers that could mingle in from time to time heading into the first full week of the month of November.
All right, back here in the Action News 5 digital desk. It's an early season so far. We're 3 games in, but there was a lot of hype surrounding this year's Memphis Grizzlies basketball team. Let's check in with the radio voice of the Memphis Grizzlies right now. We got Eric Hasseltine once again on the Action News 5 digital desk. And Eric, wow, 3 games in and already a lot of people are talking about this team. So what are your thoughts 3 games in? You've been watching this team for many, many years. Give me your initial thoughts.
I think you just called me old, Andrew, but you're not wrong. It has been many years. It was 24th opening night the other night in Utah, which was a lot of fun. It's kind of fun to see some of the new faces. And they asked, even Taylor Jenkins said, how many home openers is this for you? And I said 24. And he kind of, oh yeah, that's right. You've been here since 01. So it's a lot of fun. I mean, they're playing a fun brand of basketball. They're getting up and down the floor. There's going to be times where it looks a little discombobulated, where they're still figuring things out because it is a new system. And most of these guys have not played together. I've always believed since I started covering the NBA that continuity breeds success. It's why San Antonio had so many great years with the Spurs, because they kept that core group together. Now, you have a core 3 players, obviously, in Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, and Jaren Jackson, who know each other very well. Brandon Clark fits in there, Santi Aldama, John Conchar. But most of the other guys have either been here a year, less than a year, or really haven't played a lot together because of the injuries last year. So there's those moments where it looks a little out of whack, and you go through things like giving up a 21-0 run to the Orlando Magic on Saturday, but they have the wherewithal to withstand that and still get a big double-digit win. So they're playing a fun brand of basketball. Having Ja Morant obviously makes a huge difference. Having Desmond Bane makes a huge difference. Marcus Smart, getting Jaren Jackson back after a tough night in Houston on Friday where the Rockets just kind of beat them up on the glass. When they're healthy, and they're still not fully healthy. They don't have Luke Kennard, they don't have Vince Williams, and they don't have Gigi Jackson. When those guys come back and Taylor Jenkins has his full complement of players, they're dangerous. They're dangerous in the West because of their depth. And I know a lot of people are questioning the minutes, but it was a weird start to this year. It's the third year in a row they've started with 3 games in 4 nights. Thankfully, this year, it was the first time that their opponent also had their 3rd game in 4 nights, where the previous 2 seasons, their opponent was playing just their 2nd game and caught some tired legs. But the Grizzlies are going to go through another 3 game and 4 night set starting tonight against Chicago, where they'll play at home tonight, and they'll play Wednesday at home against Brooklyn and Thursday against Milwaukee. And that's 6 games in 8 days. So some people are questioning, why are minutes so low for some of the starters? It's because this is a long stretch to open things up. And after that game Thursday, they go on the road to Philadelphia and Brooklyn. So you're going to play 8 games in basically a week and 3 days. And it's a lot. It's like 8 and 11, 8 and 12 days. And that's a 10th of the schedule. If we were playing at that pace, we'd finish the schedule in 4.5 or 4 months. I mean, we'd be done in February. So it's not anything against the guys, but it's trying to keep the legs as fresh as possible. And it's going to pay off in the long run.
Yeah, no, that's a lot of basketball in a short amount of time. But I want to ask you, Eric, we've heard a lot coming out of training camp about this new offense and a new scheme. Your thoughts on how that's going, and is that perhaps contributing to more guys taking breaks, more guys off the bench, or is that just something else?
Oh, yeah, it 100% is contributing to guys taking breaks and minutes. And we talked with Desmond Bane after the game on the radio broadcast on Saturday, and he said, look, I'll play 15 minutes if we're going to get wins. And I said, let's pump the brakes there. We need you out there a little longer than that. But they've all bought in, and they're working it. It's a fun way to play. As Taylor Jenkins likes to say, everybody gets to eat. You see a lot of balanced scoring. You see a lot of production from the second unit. Guys like Jay Huff have come in and really given you big production. Santi Aldama, who had a great opening night, struggled Friday, came back with a fantastic game Saturday. And then you have the usual cast of characters in your starting 5 with Jaren and Ja and Dez and Marcus, and now Zach Edey, who's figuring things out. Every night he gets a little bit better, and he's going to have nights where there's setbacks. But I like the way the offense is going. It's obviously a work in progress. You're going to have to find those moments where maybe you push a little too hard, you hit the gas pedal a little too much and put yourself in a tough situation. But that will get cleaned up with time and more comfort in this new system. So it's a fun way to play. It really worked for Indiana last year. It's a similar type of deal where you're going to push on every opportunity. You're going to push after a make. You're going to push after a miss. The key thing is when your opponent misses, you've got to get that defensive rebound to be able to push. If you're giving up second chances, now you got to work a little harder on the defensive end. But they're already catching teams that make a basket and kind of jog back, and here come the Grizzlies right back at them to answer that basket. So it'll be fun to watch. It'll be fun to let these guys get out there and stretch out their legs. And it's imperative on the staff and the medical staff to monitor those minutes and monitor how the guys are feeling physically. And you know, that's what they get paid for, and they're doing a good job of it, in my opinion. So at the early start of the season, like I said, and we talked about, it is a lot of basketball. You're going to see other stretches like this, but at the beginning of the year, you're not quite in game shape yet. You could have trained all summer, played in the preseason. There is nothing like an NBA game in terms of physical exertion. It's a very different level than just playing. These guys are hammering into guys that are 210 pounds of pure muscle. And it's not only the running up and down the floor as fast as you can at times, it's also the physical contact, the hitting the floor. And the last time I checked, our floor is not made of a pillow. It's made of wood, which isn't very forgiving when you land on it. So you get the bumps and bruises, and you got to fight through that. So it'll be fun tonight. Chicago comes in. They've got some talented pieces there. They saw each other in the preseason, and the Grizzlies played very well there, I thought, after a slow start. So maybe that helps a little bit. Maybe Billy Donovan with his squad didn't give away a lot of what he's going to do in the regular season. But I think this team has a good chance to go out tonight, get a win, and get to 3-1. And that's a great way to start. You want to start from ahead because the West is so tough. You don't want to be looking up at people and trying to catch them. You want to be up in front of the pack and having people try to catch you.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you mentioned a lot about Ja, Jaren, and Dez, the big 3, but I want to focus in on a couple of newcomers that our newsroom here, that's all we can talk about is Jay
Sure.
Huff and our Japanese player that is loving being in Memphis. Can you talk for our audience just a little bit about those two players? Jay Huff, a highlight reel, who wants to be a minister after basketball. I love that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, if you haven't looked up Jay Huff on Wikipedia, I highly recommend it. He's a fascinating guy. He got into the league after being undrafted out of Virginia, played with the Lakers, played with Washington and their G League affiliate team, and then spent a little time in Denver. And the Grizzlies saw him in Summer League and saw something in him that could work for their system. And so they went and signed him to that two-way deal. They parted ways with Trey Jemison, who gave the Grizzlies everything he could. And it wasn't anything against Trey, but this type of player fits the system better. He's that modern big man that can stretch out the floor and shoot a three. But as we saw, he can get above the rim. I mean, he had an alley-oop that was waved off by an offensive foul, which I didn't agree with the call, but that's the referee's job, not mine. But I was blown away by how high he got on that alley-oop. And I think Ja was even a little bit surprised. And he had a couple of reverse dunks as well, and then hits a couple of big threes. I'm happy for the guy, because this is what guys like Jay Huff fight for, an opportunity, just a chance to prove that you belong. And he is making the most of that opportunity. And yeah, you read his Wikipedia page, and when I'm done with basketball, he wants to be a minister. And I'm like, that's not something you hear a lot. And he's just a really good guy. And the guys in the locker room love him, and we're happy to have him here. And I think the fans are really going to take to him because he's producing and he's doing things on both ends of the floor. It's not just the offensive production. He's helping out defensively as well. And then you talk about Yuki Kawamura and how fun he is. And in the preseason, his court vision is out of this world. I mean, he's fantastic. He sees things that a lot of players don't. And he's obviously challenged by his height. And that's part of the, line of demarcation in the NBA is usually you have to be 6'1", 6'2" at the least. And he's 5'8". And, I walked next to him and it's one of the few guys I think I've ever been taller than in the NBA that I've covered. But by no means does that hinder his abilities. And he's fun to watch. He's always got a smile on his face. He was a B-League Japanese MVP. The Japanese people love him because he's that symbol of you can do it. It's a lot like what Steph Curry brought to the NBA. When kids are playing in their driveway, they can't mimic a LeBron James and go dunk like that on their backboards unless it's really low or, on top of their bedroom door. But you can go out on any size court and pretend to be Steph Curry and shoot a three and handle the basketball like a magician. And now with Yuki, that gives a lot of people that same type of hope and that same type of enthusiasm to see a guy out there that truthfully, when he walks out there, there are people who said, when did you guys sign one of the ball boys to play? Because he looks so young and he's not big, and but he's in great physical shape. He's incredibly quick. And again, his passing abilities are out of this world. And so super happy for him to get the opportunity and get in a couple NBA games in the early part of the season. And then he'll be able to develop his craft with the two-way deal between the Grizzlies and the Hustle. And he'll be a lot of fun to watch. He's worth the price of admission.
Oh, yeah. I mean, his no-look passes, the highlight reel I saw with his no-look passes are outstanding. I loved watching it.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, because, a lot of people are saying, just the casual Grizzlies fan are saying, yeah, the team looks great if we can only stay healthy. How do we make that happen? How do we make it, other than the training staff and the trainer and the strength and conditioning? I mean, is it managing minutes? Does it come down to that?
I don't want to say that. The training staff works really hard. We've got a great group of people there. And a lot of people are like, well, look at all the injuries. What happened? Freak things happened, last year. A torn labrum is not a normal injury. And that's what Ja Morant suffered in a practice. And then Marcus Smart driving to the basket has someone chop down at his hand and injure his hand. And it's just these things that they're not recurring injuries. This isn't a chronic knee issue. This isn't a chronic hamstring or a chronic ankle sprain situation. Desmond Bane steps on a ball and rolls his ankle, and he's hurt because he'll fight through all the pain in the world to be on the court if it's at all possible. So it just was one after the other. I'd never seen anything like it in all the years I've covered this league. Just a team that basically got snake bitten by injuries. It does happen. It happened at a record pace. It's not a record you want to have, to play 33 guys and lose more games to your players to injury than any other team in the history of the league. To have 52 different starting lineups is not a coach's dream. It's a coach's nightmare. And they held it together. They stayed professional. And in the end, as Golden State even said, the year they lost Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Draymond Green, and they played a lot of guys that wouldn't have gotten minutes the next year when they came back. And that was the year they eliminated the Grizzlies. And that was the year that they, a year later, went to the NBA Finals. It was the 2 years later they went to the NBA Finals. And guys like Jordan Poole, guys in their second unit that got starters minutes and learned how to make plays in critical moments, that helped them go on to win a championship, that experience and that depth. So there's a silver lining to it. Guys like Gigi Jackson, guys like Vince Williams, guys like Jake LaRavia, guys like Scottie Pippen Jr. got opportunities to be on the floor for minutes they wouldn't have seen. So they have that experience now. They're not going in green. Guys like Santi Aldama became a focal point of the offense at times. It built his confidence up. And a guy like Jaren Jackson, who became the guy because he was the one healthy guy, saw defensive schemes designed for him. When Ja's on the floor and Dez is on the floor with him, that doesn't always happen. Well, now he knows he can score against a double team and a triple team. And he realized there's not a lot of guys that can stop him from squaring up 10 feet out and scoring in the paint. So that's going to pay dividends for him. And then you get two hungry star level players to be able to come back and get to do what they love to do. It's a recipe for success as long as it continues. So I think the managing the minutes is critical. I think you have to give a guy like Brandon Clark a little bit of time because an Achilles injury is one that you have to monitor. And he hasn't gotten off to the start he would like in 3 games, but it's a long season and he's still got the bounce and he's now just figuring his body back out. And when you get these guys back and Gigi comes back from the broken foot, you have another long defender. You got a hard-nosed defender in Vince Williams coming back hopefully very soon, a lights-out shooter in Luke Kennard coming back very soon. The depth for Taylor Jenkins is going to be a real asset. It's going to allow them to play as fast as they want and be able to manage the minutes because they have guys capable of coming in and playing the game at a high level.
I love hearing it. I love hearing you speak, Eric. I'm excited. I can't wait to go to another game. What can you give us before we let you go? Can you give us one thing that perhaps we're missing or no one's covering that may percolate to the top, later in this season? Anything that top of mind?
I think that the fact right now, I think they're figuring out how to play defense with the speed that they're playing on offense. In the last couple of seasons, they haven't played this fast, which has enabled their defense to be maybe a little fresher. So I think you're going to see the pace continue and you're going to see guys' legs stay stronger as we go along, which will help them on the defensive end. Right now, you're seeing some tired legs in the first 3 games at times and not totally boxing out and giving up second chances. When they clean that up, you're talking about being able to just put teams on their heels. And so I think that's one thing that, to me, I'm looking forward to as the physical conditioning continues to improve. And again, it's not like these guys had their feet propped up since last April, eating Cheetos and watching TV. They were working, but there is nothing like playing in an NBA game with the bright lights and the physicality and the intensity. It's just a different level of basketball than most people realize. And so as they get more comfortable with the things going on and get more comfortable around one another, and you see the development of a guy like Zach Edey get that confidence that he can get in the lane and get his turnaround shot at just about any time, and realizing that there are going to be times he needs to be ready for the ball just to be thrown up in the air by someone like Ja Morant when you're not expecting it. Always be expecting it. And I think that chemistry and that conditioning will lead to even more success as long as they stay healthy. And that's going to be the key thing that everybody says this year, because everybody's still a little leery of what happened last season, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun brand of basketball. And just judging by what happened Saturday night with an amazing crowd, and there's such great fans for this organization that genuinely just love this team with all of their heart. FedEx Forum is going to be a tough place for opponents to come in and play again, without a doubt. And then we're going to find more out about that tonight and Wednesday and Thursday. And I think this home court advantage that we saw a couple years ago where the Grizzlies had the best home court record will be right back at the forefront.
Can't wait. All right. Eric Hasseltine Really appreciate you coming on the Digital Desk. Perhaps we can make it a regular occurrence where you come in from time to time here because we love getting the deep dive into the Memphis Grizzlies and the Memphis Grizzlies throughout the season. Thanks again, man.
Andrew, I'm always happy to do it. I appreciate all the support, my friend.
All right. Appreciate you. Nice. Love it. Super excited about the season. And Eric Hasseltine getting us pumped up and hyped. All right. Another live look from our High Five camera downtown to Memphis. Let's now go to an interview about protecting seniors from scams.
Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. I'm Taylor Tucker in for Andrew Douglas. We have a great interview lined up for you right now. This morning, we're talking about protecting seniors from scams. Get this stat that I read. Crimes against seniors totaled more than $3.4 billion in losses this past year, with more than 100,000 complaints were filed by people over the age of 60 in 2023. That's an 11% increase from the previous year. So this is a very important topic. And joining us to discuss the common senior scams, how to identify them, and how to protect yourself from those scams is Chad White, the Executive VP at Brookdale Senior Living. Good morning to you, Chad.
Good morning, Taylor. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Thanks so much for joining us on the Digital Desk. Let's just jump right into it because scams, we all hate them, and there's so many to discuss. But tell me, what are the few most common scams that you see often that target seniors?
Well, Taylor, there are several different kinds that are pretty common. One of the first is relationship or scams that they're based on a relationship or some sort of close connection potentially to a victim. So in that case, one of the most common scenarios is someone calls, they're pulling on your heartstrings, they're exploiting loneliness potentially, but they're trying to say that maybe you've got a family member who's in trouble and needs some support. That's a pretty common one. Another common one is phishing or identity theft scams. This is where a very common variety of that is where you have a situation where a vendor sends an email, purported vendor, somebody that you usually do business with, and says you haven't paid or you need to submit payment information, and they're asking you to click on a link or open an attachment in an email. That can typically be something that's causing identity theft because they want your credit card information or other personally sensitive information. Another one is non-payment calls or visits. This time of year when it's really hot outside, a lot of seniors get visits from people pretending to be from the utility company. They may actually be wearing clothes that looks like their local utility provider. They may come from a phone call and a phone number that is spoofing that information. And what they're trying to do is demand that you pay the bill immediately or that your services get cut off. So all of these are very common. The relationship scams are probably sort of one of the most common ones. You see it from where someone adopts an online identity, a fake identity, and they reach out via social media or a dating site or something like that, develop a relationship, and then ultimately ask for money, say they have an emergency expense or need something like that. And all they're trying to do is scam a senior out of their hard-earned savings.
That's unfortunate. And I know you only listed 3, but there are so many scams that you could probably spend the entire day talking about. How can we spot a scam, though?
Well, there's some clear signs. One of the most clear signs that you may be being scammed is if someone demands money urgently or immediately. If they tell you that you need to act now, Taylor, or you can't, or don't tell a loved one, don't tell a friend, that's a very clear sign that you may be scammed. Another sign is if someone threatens to go to the authorities. If you don't take action and do what they're requesting, submit money, make a payment, etc., that may be a clear sign. One other one that I think is when they ask you to wire money, particularly if they ask you to wire money overseas or pay something through an unusual payment system such as a gift card or cryptocurrency or something like that. If you get that, that's a clear warning sign that something may be amiss.
Yeah, even when you take those steps, I always like when we have interviews like this, is it possible to avoid scams altogether?
Well, it's probably, it may not be possible to avoid them altogether because they're coming all the time, but there are some things you can do to help protect yourself or to protect your loved ones. And so one of the first things I would say, Taylor, is to be cautious. Take time to research or verify the situation. If you get one of these calls with a loved one, for example, who's claiming that they need money, they may claim to be your your granddaughter or grandson or niece or nephew, and they say they need money for a bill or something like that, take time to find out what's going on. You need to verify that. I would take their number, call back, tell them you'll call them back, and then actually call them back on the number that you know is their number. Verify that it's there, or call a loved one in that case. There are some other things that I would say are very important to do, particularly as it relates to identity theft. Never click on a link or an attachment in an unsolicited email or text message even. They're getting very sophisticated these days. They will look like, the emails will look like they're coming from somebody that you do business with, but don't click on those links. Go directly to the website or call their customer service number directly if you think there's an issue that you need to deal with a vendor.
Great advice there. Educating yourself is definitely the first step. Tell us a little bit about Brookdale, how you help educate your residents and those families who you work with closely. How do you educate them on this?
Well, it's really important to us, Taylor. We at Brookdale, our mission is to enrich lives, and so we want to provide as many resources as we can to help protect our seniors and their loved ones and help them avoid becoming a victim of these types of scams. And so we do a number of things. One, certain of our communities bring in experts, whether it be experts in finance or security, who provide information and up-to-date information to our residents and their family members. We also, because of our size and scale, have a lot of resources we can provide either through email communications or blogs on our website or through other means like that, community newsletters. It's really important to make sure people are up to date on these things, because prevention is the most important way to stop these scams.
Absolutely, Chad. A lot of great advice there. Last question for you. If we want to learn more, for those watching at home, they want to educate themselves, where can they go online to learn more information?
Well, I'd encourage your viewers to visit our website, brookdale.com. We have a lot of great information on there, additional stuff on how to protect yourself from scams, other good tips, and also links to some important sites like the FBI, where there's a lot of additional information. It's really important for seniors and family members and those who love their seniors to stay up to date and informed. So I'd encourage them to visit the brookdale.com website.
All right, again, that was Chad White with Brookdale Senior Living. Chad, was there anything else that you wanted to add that I did not ask you today?
You know, I would just say the most important thing is just to be very, very aware and cautious. Try to do what you can. I'd say another tip that's probably important is never wire money. If you get an unsolicited email or phone call, don't wire money, particularly if they're asking you to wire it overseas. Just be very cautious. If someone's asking